won't be mistaken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken. I will not surrender. Authoritative man, I'm ready to die, but not for love. See the signs appear. It's gonna happen here.
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandra, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, everybody from Butte, Montana, everybody from, if there is a Butte, Montana, I think there's a Butte, Montana.
I believe there is.
I believe so, too. From Battle Creek, Michigan, hi. Everybody from Des Moines, Iowa. Everybody from the state of Illinois. And I'm going to use always, I don't care. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground. Along with me, you know, there is a place called the Sinister. And in that place, there's a prime minister. Now, normally he hangs out in the Sinister, but today he's on the show with us. Greg Bowen, Prime Minister of the Sinister. How are you doing, sir?
Spectacular. How you doing?
Doing very well. Danielle is not with us today. She has got to handle some other business, some other matters that need her attention.
She got business to attend to.
She's got business to attend to. That's very, very sure. But we will miss her while she's not here. But she may pop in. You never know. Hopefully everybody's doing well. A lot of different stuff to talk about this week on the show. And I'm going to try not to curse the entire time.
Good luck with
that. That way Tan Talk can actually take any of the hours that they want to take and not worry about, what I said on those hours. So we'll go with that. I think we'll start with the elections. It's probably a good place to start.
Yeah, let's start there.
Well, we had elections. The primaries happened on August 26th, which was Tuesday. And a very interesting things that you can take from these elections.
I took from it the same thing I take from every election.
What's that?
Go out and vote and then spend the night watching everything I vote for lose.
Correct. It's a good thing. Actually, there's a couple people I voted for that ended up winning, surprisingly enough.
There were a couple votes that went my way, but they were the least important ones to me. They were the ones where it was like, either one doesn't really matter.
Yeah, right.
So, of course, those are the ones where the person I voted for wins.
Of course. Now, in your county, though, Greg, just out of curiosity, if you know this or not, do you know the percentage of the vote?
It's about 16% plus a little bit, just under 17, wasn't it?
Well, for your county, you were actually way above average. You were at 24.
Oh, were we?
Yeah, 24.16 actually is where you guys were at in your county.
Okay. See, the last time I looked, it was still unofficial.
Statewide was 17 though, so you might have been looking at the statewide numbers.
That might have been. Plus, like I said, the last time I was looking at the results, they were still unofficial. Not everything had reported, but everybody I voted for had lost by enough that it didn't matter. So
yeah, it didn't matter at that point.
I didn't need to check any further. There was no turning it around.
Well, if you think about it like this, so there's a total number of registered voters for this past election at 11,807,507 people. That's how many people could have voted. Out of those 11 million, 2,075,245 people actually voted. So the average percentage of the vote, the average turnout, was 17.58%, which was actually at its lowest point since 1998, I believe. So since 98, every primary has been higher than what this primary was. 17% is very low, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. It's very telling, though. A couple things you want to take that you can take away from this. First off, I'm going to do overall stuff, and then we'll get into Pinellas, because there's some stuff to talk about in Pinellas as well. But overall, statewide, there was no what you would consider to be big primaries. You know what I'm saying? There were some primary challengers that were going on locally in certain areas, which is why I think that the percentage of the vote was higher in other places than others. I think Pinellas had some things that caused about a 10% spike in the vote.
Right.
I would go with that. And there were some other areas that did. Now, it's kind of funny, though, if you look at it. Like, so Pinellas was at 24% of the vote, right? In different places, you had like as high as, well, let me give you the other numbers just because I want to put this into perspective, though, because it is kind of funny. All right, so Pinellas, 149,272 people voted out of 617,925.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to take that for what it's worth. Now, in a county like Liberty County, let's just say Liberty County had 49% of the vote. 49% of the people actually went out and voted in Liberty County. But that is, there's 4,479 total people that could have voted, and 2,233 people actually voted.
Yeah.
So while Liberty County had 49% of the vote, they didn't even get, like, you know, they were about 10%, not even 10%.
And how many of those are absentees, people who didn't even go to the polls? So
You know, I do not know that number. They don't have it broken. At least with the chart I'm looking at, it is not broken down that way, unfortunately. So there's a lot of people that vote absentee now, though.
There are absentee. I mean, really in Florida, especially in Pinellas County, if you don't win with the absentee, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
You can't get enough votes on the people that show up at the polls to actually win.
Yeah. In some places, you're absolutely right.
Pinellas, it's definitely that way, and a lot of other counties in Florida.
It can be. It can be. Now, Pinellas had 149,000 people that voted. Palm Beach had 101,000 people that voted. Orange had 116,000 people that voted. Miami-Dade, which only had a 14% turnout, still had 185,000 people that voted.
There's a lot of people there.
A lot of people live there. Now, funny enough, though, Lee County had 94,000, so it was almost 100,000 people that voted there, so they almost hit that 100 range. And 125,000 people in Hillsborough voted with a 16% turnout. Now, the other thing that you'll notice is, and Broward had 113,000, and they had a 10% turnout. The heavy Democrat districts did not vote very much at all.
No, because there's not a whole lot of Democrat challengers for offices, so a lot of offices there were no primary for there was no primary for the Democrat.
Yeah. Well, in some places there were, though, but not.
Some places there were, but not near as many as there were Republicans.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Pinellas, for example, there were a few Democrat primaries. Almost everything had a Republican primary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Now, if you go into the numbers into Pinellas, and this is the part that well, hold on. Actually, let me give the other number for. Oh, no, not there. Let me give the numbers for governor. Believe it or not, and it wasn't really talked about a whole lot, and we probably didn't talk about it a whole lot either on this show either, is the Republican and the Democrat had challengers. Rick Scott had two challengers. One of them was Elizabeth Cuevas Nurinder, and she's a Republican. And then Yinka Absentina, or whatever, however you say it, she was also there as well. Now, Rick Scott got 87% of the vote, so 835,434 people voted for Rick Scott. Now, this Elizabeth woman got 100,856 votes. So she actually got some votes here.
Mm-hmm.
And Yinka got 16,920 votes. Which, 87% of the vote, that's a whole lot of the vote. And I've met the Elizabeth woman, but nobody gave her any kind of information out there. They never put anything out on her. Look, you think they don't talk about libertarians. And I'll grant you that they don't a lot. But be another Republican in a race that has like somebody like Rick Scott there, and nobody ever heard your name. You know, her known percentage was probably nothing.
Yeah.
Now, the Democrats also had a primary that was a little more contentious than this one. You had Charlie Crist, who I can't even believe he's in a Democrat primary, but we'll go with it. Charlie Crist, he had 624,281 votes against Nan Rich. Now, Nan Rich is not a no-name person. She was the minority speaker of the House up there. She's been a Democrat for a long time. She's actually the Democrat in the race. Charlie Crist, I don't even consider to be the Democrat in the race.
No.
She got 215,000 113 votes, so 25% of the vote. So Charlie ended up with 74% of the vote, Nan Rich with 25% of the vote. Now, they're gigging Charlie Crist for this, saying that you're not really, you haven't really solidified the Democrat base, and there's a whole lot of people that ain't going to go and vote for you.
I would agree with that.
I would agree with that, too, but I would agree with that with Rick Scott, because here's the thing. There's 11 million voters in Florida, 835,000 of them, and 835 and 434,000 of these people voted for your guy. Now, I understand that you're like, well, not everybody could vote in that primary. But there's about 4 million Republicans or whatever, and only 800,000 of them voted for Rick Scott.
Yeah, over 12% of the Republicans said they don't want Rick Scott.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's people that didn't go and vote, and those people didn't want to vote for him either. Mm-hmm. Charlie Crist, neither one of these guys got a mandate out of this. Neither one of these guys, there's no enthusiasm for Charlie Crist or for Rick Scott. None at all. Not even a little bit. There's no enthusiasm for these two guys. And these numbers are actually very good if you're somebody like Adrian Wiley.
Yes.
Or even somebody like Lucas Overby. These numbers are very telling. What it really means is there's no enthusiasm for these guys right now. Mm-hmm. Most of these guys, at least for Scott and Crist, these two guys are hated, historically hated.
Oh, yeah.
There has not been an election where you have had two guys running for office that both had this high in negatives.
I mean, you add it together, 37% of the people who voted in the primary do not want the people that are going to be on the ballot in the general.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing that's a piece of bad news is that with the people that did vote, though, those people, by a large percentage, picked the establishment.
Yes. Now,
if you look at, and we're going to Pinellas County, State Senator for District 20, you had Latvala against Zahid Roy. 87% to 12%. So Jack Latvala, 31,000 votes. Roy Zahid, 4,600 votes. Debbie Faulkner lost to Chris Sprouse. Now, that was really not... I really didn't consider to be Debbie Faulkner to be like a grassroots kind of candidate. And Sprouse is definitely not a grassroots candidate. And he won. He had 8,941 votes, and she had 4,743 votes. So 65 to 34, a little bit more closer there. Chris Latvala, who's Jack Latvala's kid, for Pete's sake, he got 67% of the vote against Chris Shepard, who got 32% of the vote. And it's 6,108 to 2,985.
And that right there just shows how little people pay attention to what's actually going on. Because you cannot meet those two guys and choose Latvala over Shepard.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think so at all.
Not if you've got two active brain cells to rub together, because Latvala doesn't.
Yeah. Now, in State Representative District 68, you had Joshua Black against Bill Young, not the one that's dead. And in this race, and Joshua Black, look, God love him and everything, but, you just don't call for the president to be hung.
He put his foot in his
he's
mouth
black,
and swallowed.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not like he was racist about it. Which I always found to be funny is that I remember reading things, but they wouldn't show Joshua's face, and they would write articles about him, and all the comments would be like, he's racist, he's a KKK. And I think I even wrote in a couple of them, I go, you guys know he's black, right? Like, you guys know that Joshua Black is actually black. I mean,
it's not just his last name.
Yeah.
He is black.
Now, he had 1,908 votes against Bill Young's 7,498 votes for a total of 9,406. Now, you got to remember something, too, though. They didn't even hit the 25% here. So there is also another 9, 18. There's 27,000 other people that could have voted in that race. Now, move on. Moving on. Norm lost. Which sucks, by the way.
To Ed Hooper, which this is an interesting one because Norm was the incumbent. So that would normally lead you to think that that's the establishment candidate. But that's not the case. Norm was the incumbent, and he was a very good county commissioner, the best county commissioner we've had, at least for this last term. And Ed Hooper is definitely the establishment guy. He's in league with Jack Latvala and all of the other power brokers of Tallahassee and Pinellas County locally.
And they hated Norm.
Oh, absolutely.
And unfortunately, Norm lost. which I really feel bad that Norm lost. I really wish Norm would have won. However, Norm did lose the race, and it was 63-36. 37,000 people voted for Ed Hooper and some change. 21,000 people voted for Norm Roach. And Norm wasn't for sale, by the way. And that's, I think the other point here is the people that voted in this race, the people that voted for Ed Hooper, there's 37,201 people in Pinellas County that are either too ignorant to know who to vote for, or really do like the establishment and really do like what they do. Like, they like the corruption, they like all the other things. You got 37,000 people in Pinellas County that are like that.
That's the sheep.
Yeah. Well, or the people that are being paid by the government.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even. Sheep is more of a term that's used for people that wouldn't know any better. I think you got a pretty good amount, a large amount of people in there that are making their money from the kind of corporatist government that we have that are voting for these guys.
There is a large amount of that. I do think that the larger amount, though, are the sheep, the easily led, the people who don't put very much thought into it at all, don't put any research into it, and just vote for who they're told to vote for.
Fair enough. No, that's not a bad thought there. Now, in the county commission race for District 4, this was a loaded race, by the way.
Absolutely.
I mean, loaded. So loaded that it was only going to be a plurality that got it won anyway. There was no way a majority was going to rule in this race.
Yeah.
And this had a whole lot of different people. You had Dave Eggers, Johnny Johnson, who I actually thought was a dim because of the signs.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought Johnny Johnson was a dim because of the signs. Tim Kafalis, who I think was running for Tarpon Springs City Commission, I think, or something like that before this. Wanda Kimsley, who I didn't see much of her. Mancho Liberty, who I swear to God I didn't think was a real name. I didn't think he was real.
Macho Liberty. He's actually probably the most personable and fun of all of them.
Yeah, I know. It's just I didn't know that this guy was. I mean, I really thought somebody was making fun of us with these signs out there. Peter Nair, who who used to be the state rep, and then Jim Ronecker. Now Eggers won with 30% of the vote, and it was 6,100 votes. Peter Nair came in second with 22% of the vote, and Johnny Johnson third with 21% of the vote.
Now, Dave Eggers won. Dave is formerly, he was the mayor of Dunedin, and now he's running for state house. Not a bad guy. I met him and talked to him. Not the worst of the group. You had that like you said, that was a loaded race. I mean, Dave Eggers, the mayor of Dunedin, I believe we had the mayor of Safety Harbor in that as well. Lots of people who have been involved in politics in the Pinellas area. Peter Nair as well. So that was a very...
Who literally put out signs with just his name on it. The only thing you could read was Peter Nair.
Yeah.
Which I thought was ballsy, and I didn't think was necessarily the best move in the world, but it did get you 22% of the vote. I mean, maybe if you put for county commission, maybe more people would have voted for you, but what can you do? But we're interesting race though. Maroney, who's the county commission now, was up against a guy by the name of Tom Rask, and Maroney 66%, Tom Rask 33%. So Maroney was able to do that, which it's sad because he's a scumbag.
Yeah, at least 12,101 people realized how corrupt and horrible Maroney is and voted against him. Unfortunately, they did not get victory.
Yeah. Now, Charlie Crist pulled 80% of the vote in basically his home county.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess it's okay, but it's only 48,000 people took the time to go vote for Charlie Crist.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure, though, that Charlie Crist has never lost Pinellas County in a statewide election.
Never. And he didn't lose this time either.
No.
This really goes down to how much did he win by.
Yeah.
George Sheldon, who's ran for Attorney General, he's up against Pam Bondi. Miss, I don't like gay marriage, but I've had 3 of my own. And Bill Wolsifer, who's the Libertarian, who's the one you should pick here. George Sheldon had 72% of the vote against Perry Thurston. And George Sheldon, in all reality, shouldn't even be on the ballot, considering that he's not meeting the what's the word?
The requirements.
Yeah, the requirements. He's not meeting the requirements for it. Now, it did go to court. They did say that, well, he does meet the requirements, but that's crap, though.
Yeah, it was a convoluted, clearly establishment helping establishment candidates in that case.
Yep. Now, you had State Rep 67. Steve Sarnoff won against some of that name, Thomas Ryan and Shauna Vircher. But he did not get a majority. He got a plurality. So he only got 45% of the votes, so it was 3,669 votes. Laura Schnell beat Susan St. John for circuit judge. I'm not going to do the percentages.
No, Susan St. John beat Laura Snell.
Yeah. Susan St. John beat Laura Schnell. Alicia Polk won against Larkin Rosenthal. Battaglia lost to Sharp. Amanda Cologne was beat by Phil Mattei.
Which is a shame because she was the most qualified of all of the judicial candidates. She deserved the seat.
Oh, really?
I mean, she has put in the work. She has been so active in her community. It is quite honestly a damn shame that she lost because she was the best person for that job of all of the judicial candidates.
Yeah. Boyer won re-election against Newland, which we like Boyer.
I like Boyer. I was very torn on that election, though. I did not vote for him, but I'm not hurt that he won.
Well, you were definitely one of the few because
Yeah.
only 28% voted against him. Terry Krasner beat Chris. Toshnitz. Toshnitz. I have to say it quick. For school board. Peggy O'Shea beat Ken Curtis. School board. Then another one was Ken Peluso beat John Nygren and Beverly Billerus. Which I thought Billerus was going to win only because it sounded like Billarakis.
Right.
I really thought that. I'm like, oh, I bet she's going to win that because of that. Maureen Ahern lost to Linda Lerner. And the last thing.
Oh, my God.
Which I don't know how in the hell this happened.
Even a cursory glance at this county referendum, you should see that it's a no.
The county referendum it was questioned, and this was for Greenlight Pinellas.
Essentially, yeah. Essentially,
what do you mean essentially?
Well, basically, what the referendum
is.
Yeah, what the referendum was about giving the county commission the power to grant property tax exemptions to businesses. That's really the meat of this referendum, but it's part of Greenlight Pinellas. It's for them to be able to dole out tax incentives to businesses.
I got you. So hold on, but isn't there a penny tax increase too?
I believe that's in November.
Oh, is that so? That wasn't this.
I don't think so.
Okay,
let me check and make sure. If I remember correctly, though, this is part of it, but this is about the county commission having the power to dole out property tax breaks to businesses, not to individuals, not to private homeowners, but to businesses. More cronyism, really.
Okay. All right, so let me give you my overall thoughts here. Actually, let me do Pasco as well. I'm sorry, let me do Pasco. So I'm not going to go down all the things here. One thing is Chris Gregg did beat James Mathau for state rep for District 36, and will now be facing Amanda Murphy for State House. And Chris Gregg, you got to give the guy credit. Mathau's the chair of the rec in Pasco. And he lost to Chris Gregg. And the reason is because Chris Gregg just goes out and works. I got to give the guy credit for that. He goes out and works. And you may not know this if you don't live in Pasco County. But Mike Wells is he's a property appraiser. His son ran for office. Now, his son ran against a guy by the name of Henry Wilson Jr., who's actually a decent guy on the county commission. But Mike Wells used the same signs his dad used. Now, he might have printed them up different, but basically it was the same sign. They just changed some things on it to make it for him, but it says Mike Wells, all big red. I'll guarantee you that out of the 29,000 people that voted for Mike Wells, that 20,000 of them thought they were voting for the same Mike Wells.
Right.
And because he made his sign look exactly the same.
Name you know.
Yep, it's the name you know. So that was what's going on in Pasco, and we only had a 14% turnout in Pasco, so it was pretty crappy. which this kind of goes into my point here. First off, for those in the Tea Party and in the Ron Paul movement and all these other people that claim to believe in liberty and freedom, I don't play in your August game. I tried to. I tried to be helpful last go around in 2012 for the August time frame. And because you guys would not help me in November, I'm not going to help you in August anymore. I'm just not going to do it because it doesn't make any sense to do it. But you guys are supposed to have enough people. If you can't win the elections when the turnout is this low, then you're just not willing to do what's necessary to win. Mm-hmm. You guys are the one, again, you guys are supposed to be showing us that working through the Republican Party is supposed to be the way to go, or working through the Dems is the way to go, or you got to stay within the two-party system to get it done. You guys didn't win nothing. Nothing. I don't know of anything you won. And you had some guys to work for. Norm was a guy to work for. Now, Norm wasn't perfect. I'm not going to say he was, because he wasn't. You know, the whole thing against Amendment 2, that's kind of stupid. But you had other guys. Chris Shepard was a good guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the Macho Liberty guy was a good guy, you're saying. Anybody against Maroney would have been a good guy. Again, these are races that you could have done something in. You know, Latvala, make him lose. Zahid Roy was on the ballot. Chris Shepard was on the ballot. You know, Joshua Black, if you're into that kind of thing. You know, he was on the. It's funny to say if you're into that kind of thing.
Into that kind of thing. Well, here's the thing about Joshua Black. Other than a few slips, he definitely put his foot in his mouth and swallowed. But he was not a bad candidate. He was definitely the Liberty candidate in the race. And as far as who would have represented Liberty Republicans, Libertarians better, it was definitely Josh Black.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, look, there's some things that Josh said that that really threw me for a loop. But at the same time, compare him to Bill Young, yeah, all day long.
Yeah, I'll take somebody who says stupid stuff on social media over a complete establishment shill any day.
Oh, yeah. No. All day long. I'll give you that one all day long. This is the thing. These guys ran. They needed your help. Where were you? I guarantee if I can go back to chalk to Joshua Black or Chris Shepard or Zahid Roy, all of them would probably tell me the same thing. I just didn't have anybody helping me. I couldn't get the word out enough. I didn't get enough money. I didn't get enough in donations. I couldn't get enough done. Again, you had a 20-something% turnout. 75% of the Republicans didn't show up to the polls. Mm-hmm. That's what happened. You guys won't win your own primaries. Why would you expect me to come over there? And especially because I tried to help you last year, or 2 years ago in 2012. I made an organization to bring everybody together to help you.
He did it facing the ridicule of myself and others. He was still helping you guys.
Yeah. Getting talked. Yeah, exactly, Greg. Thank you, Greg. Well, don't thank you for ridiculing me, but thank you for mentioning it now, though.
Well, I mean, I gave Alex a hard time about that on a regular basis. There were others who gave Alex a hard time about that on a regular basis, and he put up with it. And he gave us his rebuttals and told us why he was doing it.
And I was wrong. Mm-hmm. I said these people would help us come November.
And it didn't happen.
Nowhere to be found. Felt like Charlie Brown in football.
Yep.
So I felt like. Now, so what I'm saying is, you guys got this big major, plan to take over the GOP and make it libertarian or whatever. Okay, just don't tell that lie anymore. Like, seriously, like, don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. And the reason is because you guys don't mean it. This is where, in the results, is where I would think if you mean it or not. And here's the thing. Zahid Roy got 12% of the vote because he earned 12% of the vote.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Shepard got 32% of the vote because he earned it. Not because you all helped him, because you didn't. Yeah. And if you went and asked Chris Shepard, he'd tell you.
Yes, he earned every single vote that he got.
Yeah. Now, I don't know about the events that Shepard was doing, and I didn't hear about any, so he didn't make them that public, in my opinion. He could have done a much better job of doing that. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, probably needed some help. He probably, it was a one-man show. That's probably what it ended up being here.
Yeah.
So I look at these numbers and I'm like, first off, there's no no thrill out there for anybody. And the other thing is that you guys really got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Now, and I know I'm going to bring something up next, and I know that everybody's going to say, well, you just couldn't wait to say this, could you? And if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be able to say it. So take it for what it's worth. Former Iowa Republican official admits to taking payment for support of Ron Paul's presidential bid. I don't know if you know about this story or not, but Ken Sorensen said he was paid $73,000 to switch his allegiance from Michelle Bachmann to Paul in 2011. Now, he was a former state senator who abandoned Michelle Bachmann to endorse Ron Paul a week before the 2012 Iowa caucuses. He's actually pleaded guilty now to concealing payments from Paul's campaign in exchange for his support. He's basically telling on him so he doesn't go to jail for as much time. He was the Iowa chairman for Bachmann's campaign, and then he made an announcement that he switched his endorsement to Paul. At the time that he made the decision, he said he based his support on his policies, not on the fact that he just got paid $73,000. They were delivered in $8,000 installments, which were concealed. They were all done under the table. It was a very, very shady business, and it looks like, I don't know if anybody's going to go to jail for this one, but it looks like it was Jesse Benton that was actually part of this.
Mm-hmm. Not at all surprised.
Yeah. Now, he's working for Mitch McConnell, who's running for re-election. I mean, Jesus Christ. And then Sorensen resigned from office in 2013 anyway. Now, here's the thing. You can say that, well, the establishment's going after Ron Paul. You know what? First off, the election's over with, so it's not like this is going to matter anyway.
Yeah.
This doesn't really do anything for his son. Like, it doesn't hurt his son. This is not something that you can use against Rand because of what happened in this campaign. But this ain't an attack. This is an acknowledgement that the Ron Paul campaign, and again, you can try to say Ron Paul didn't know about this, and whether that's true or not, it's another story. And I don't have any proof that it's true, and I don't have any proof that it's false, so I can't say it either way. But somebody in his campaign paid this guy off. Somebody in his campaign acted like the establishment to get this done. And if this is what you have to do in order to play Republican ball, then you better not be playing Republican ball. Then you better start helping us in fixing the Libertarian Party, become a party that can get somebody elected. Because if you have to sell yourself out to this, you'll never change anything.
Yep.
You're never gonna.
If that's the type of game that you're willing to play, then we don't want to play with you, quite frankly.
No, I agree with that. But now here's something else, too. You can't beat these guys with money.
Yeah.
They have an unlimited piggy bank. You don't.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong. The Ron Paul campaign was able to garner a whole lot of money that they used to pay Jesse Benton, and now we find out Ken Sorensen. Because they just used it to pay off Ken Sorensen.
Yeah. I've said it many times. I've said it on the air here. We are not going to win playing their game by their rules. We need to knock the game board off the table and play a different game.
Now, I will say this. One thing that I read some of the comments, because there's a lot of comments on this article. And the people that are defending Ron Paul on this one still, you people seriously need to get your head examined. And while there's no need to, again, there's no need to maybe say that we don't know for sure if he knew or he didn't know. But don't say, well, this is people trying to set him up. Your ass, all right? Can you please not be so damn myopic? Because this campaign did this. Whether you like it or not, this is the game that they were playing. They had a strategy. This was part of it. They had to do well in Iowa, and they needed some help, and they got Ken Sorensen. And, it's just sad that this is what they went to in order to do this. So, and guys like Jesse Benton should probably end up being in jail for this one, but it ain't going to happen. He's not gonna make it anyway. But that's what happened, though. That's the deal that went down here when it came to what goes on with this.
The establishment doesn't throw you in jail for playing their game by their rules. They'll slap you on the wrist and say, "Don't get caught next time."
Correct.
Because that's what they want to happen to them when they when they show their hand. But if it's one of us, we would go to jail.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see it too. We'll see what happens. But I will say that, again, this is what ends up happening with, when you play in the GOP, man. This stuff is the way it goes down. Now, don't get me wrong. Look, if you guys think you can get it done, just show me. Show me you can get it done. Mm-hmm. I've seen such a drop-off in the Liberty Republicans in the state of Florida. Now, not in some areas I haven't. I can't say that with all of them. Mm-hmm. But some of them are actually doing attacking the legislature directly, not through elections, but directly.
Right.
Those are good efforts. I'll give those efforts. Those are good efforts. And they're going after corruption and campaign finance reform. It's what the RLC statewide is doing. Now, locally, the RLC, they've dropped off the map now. They've just dropped off the map. Again, their own doing. They've done it to themselves. They've dropped off the map. And you know what? You guys need to get back in the game. You're either serious about it or you're not. It just seems to me that they're not serious.
No, they've relegated themselves to obscurity.
Well, and they could have taken... Look, Chris Shepard was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Put all your resources behind that guy. He was up against Latvala.
Yeah.
Why was it not done?
Because they don't have a shared vision and focus and direction and persistence and a willingness to actually accomplish anything.
I got you. Because liberty and freedom was a nice bumper sticker, but it was hard to actually do the hard work that was required to get the job done.
Exactly.
And they may not like it when I say that. Prove me wrong and get it done.
Yeah.
If not, shut your hole.
Yeah.
Quiet your soup cooler.
Yeah.
Don't need to hear from you.
You spend plenty of time preaching to the choir, holding your meetings, and telling the other Republicans that they're wrong, but that doesn't change anything.
Well, you know what it is? They waste all their time at the damn rec.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what percentage of the Republicans go to the rec? 2?
If that.
I might be giving them some there. So, but they all wanted positions in the recs, and that's how they're going to change things. And, screw you. You haven't changed nothing. You've changed nothing.
Yeah.
The same guys I got to deal with up in Tallahassee, I was going to have to deal with before. So, piss off. Now, I don't know if you, and let's, again, I move quickly on the subjects, a lot quicker than some people would like me to move, I think, at times. Do you know what Enterprise, Florida is, Greg?
Not well enough to explain it on the air.
All right. Basically, Enterprise, Florida is a way in which the state of Florida can do some crony capitalism.
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to give you the stupid terms for it here. So that's how they can do that. It's paid for by taxpayer money. I mean, there is probably some money that comes in that is not taxpayer money, but it represents a very, very small minority of that. But Enterprise Florida is basically one of the ways in which Tallahassee is involved in corporate welfare. The CEO of this makes $200 and something thousand a year and just got a raise or a bonus. They just elected him or just offered him, give him a bonus of another $120,000 a year. Of your tax dollars. He already made $200,000. Now, let me read this real quick. This is from Liberty First's analysis, 2014 analysis on corporatism. In 1992, the Florida legislature created Enterprise Florida, a public-private partnership. Enterprise Florida is mainly a government-run nonprofit corporation that works under a contract with the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity After operating for 20 years and despite negotiating more than 1,600 transactions involving economic development incentive agreements worth more than $1.7 billion, Enterprise Florida reports that only 103,544 jobs have been delivered since 1995, half of their original target in 8 years beyond its original target date. Now, do you know how many jobs this guy created to get the bonus? 35,000. Or what they claim he created was 35,000 jobs, which we know that this actually is not, not good. Within the Department of Economic Opportunity, $71 million is slated for economic development incentives, which includes carryover funds from last fiscal year. Some of the programs funded include Quick Action Closing Fund programs, Qualified Target Industry programs, Capital Investment Tax Credit Program, High Impact Performance Incentive Program, Brownfield Redevelopment Bonus Refund Program, Innovation Incentive Program, Enterprise Zone Program. According to, well, I'm not going to get into all this stuff here. However, this guy, they just gave him a bonus of another $120,000 because he hit these targets that they're claiming he's hitting. Your tax dollars, by the way.
Oh, my goodness.
Name's Gray Swope, by the way, in case you were looking for the name. I don't have his home address, but I would love to be able to tell it to you on the air. And
his cell phone number.
Yeah, and his annual salary, $275,000. He just got another $120,000. So total, $395,000 was given to him for creating 35,000 jobs. He basically got a signing bonus of $1,000 a job.
Yeah.
But government doesn't create jobs. I'm the only person that commented on this thing, by the way, on the My Fox Tampa Bay page.
Really?
How am I the only person that commented on this thing? You bunch of damn bastards.
Because nobody cares. Nobody's paying attention. It's the sheep.
I guess. That's sad. That's sad, by the way. Because this was actually a good report from Fox 13. They really did a good reporting on this one. And John Wilson seemed visibly pissed. I'm not kidding. John Wilson looked pissed. It was nice to it was refreshing to see, damn it. I was happy to see it because this guy he looked mad. How much did we pay him? That's what here's the thing. When Adrian says that he can cut enough money out of the budget to pay for, to eliminate property taxes, you want to know why? Because of how much money Enterprise Florida gets. Let's start there. Look, they've looked at the healthcare thing. They think they can shave $1 billion off of the healthcare thing for just the public employees.
Nice.
Shave $1 billion and still provide better coverage than they got now. I mean,
and that's the thing is people when Adrian says that, a lot of people don't take him seriously, and part of it is because they don't understand the depths of the corruption in this state and just how deep and just how expensive that corruption is for us taxpayers.
Yeah. Good point, Greg. Very good point.
Because Adrian makes that point regularly on the campaign trail. And in the wake of it, you hear the discussions, and people are like, well, I don't know how he thinks he's going to do that. And I don't know how he thinks that just ending the corruption is going to free up 1/3 of the budget. It'll probably free up more, quite frankly. You people aren't really looking with a clear perspective on what's going on in Florida. There is a reason why we have the reputation as the most corrupt state in the country. Our state legislature is objectively the most corrupt government in the United States, worse than the federal government.
Yeah.
5 of the last 12 years, we have had more criminal convictions out of our state legislature than all of the other states in the United States.
Yeah. Just to give you a couple things. In this year's budget, $215 million to all aboard Florida. All right? $1.1 billion for the Department of Economic Opportunity. $19 million for Enterprise Florida. $71 million also for the slated contract. Well, actually, that goes all with the 1.1. Hold on, let me get to the next thing. Space Florida, $19 million. Visit Florida, $74 million. $12 million for quick response training grants. $5.5 million for public research. I mean, hell, we did where's it at? It's not listed on here. $300 million for 6 years to the film industry. $18 million a year for 30 years for major sports teams. Okay, that was all the money that was in just this one. I'm looking at one report that we did for the session last year, and that's what I can come up with off of, in right off the top. That doesn't talk about like the institutionalized bureaucracies that can be streamlined tremendously. That doesn't get into all that stuff, because in public education, it's the worst.
Oh, yeah.
It's horrible in public education on how much bureaucracy there is. You got like 8 principals in each school sometimes.
And it's reflected by how poorly our schools do, because how poorly our schools are doing directly reflects how little of the money in the budget gets to the classroom.
Yeah.
Because it is far more important for the students to have their resources and the teachers to be well compensated and have their resources than it is for the bureaucrats everywhere between Tallahassee and them to get their payments and their resources.
Yeah.
Most of those people don't really serve a purpose that is going to effectively change education in this state for the better.
Yeah, well, there is a decent amount of them that are not involved that way.
Yeah,
they're just not. They're support at best. They're support at best. They're support. And you have that all over the state, though. It happens with all different kinds of stuff. So this is just one example of a bonus of $120,000 that you paid for. Now you paid for this. They actually took a poll of whether they thought this was worth it or wasted. Tell me what percentage said it was wasted?
17%.
Oh gosh, no, it was way higher than that.
Okay.
In these kinds of polls, remember, this ain't a vote. Well, it's a vote, but it's not like a vote. 93% said it was wasted.
Okay.
The 7% that said it was worth it, assholes.
And there goes the no cursing.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I won't say it again. I think. Okay. Well, it's better than saying like the F word or something.
Yeah.
7% said it was worth it. Those people go and vote, though. You can think about it like this: if it's 7% that say it's worth it, and only 15% are going to the polls, then that 7% basically looks at the majority. The worth it in this category is the reason this guy's still getting paid.
Yeah.
Ain't that a bitch?
Yeah.
Damn it. 93%. Can you go and vote?
And he's going to get a raise again.
Oh yeah, no, he's doing a great job. You're doing just a great job. All right, let's move on to something else here.
Please.
Have you heard about the Dunedin boy and the lemonade stand?
I have. Oh my God, what a ridiculous mess that is.
All right, explain what it is real quick.
Well, to sum up, little boy sets up a lemonade stand, and the neighbor, essentially, the neighbor calls the cops on this little boy for setting up a lemonade stand.
Yeah,
because it's an illegal lemonade stand, and the neighbor doesn't like it, so he calls the cops. Okay, since it's already been broken, what an asshole!
Yeah, first and foremost, yeah. The neighbor, his name's Doug Wilkie. Now, here's the thing. This got international attention. And so this guy, this little kid and his lemonade stand worked out pretty well. Like, he's doing well. People are making sure they're stopping by and helping this guy. The funny part about it is that this is from the Tampa Bay Times. It says Dunedin boy with lemonade stand reaps windfalls.
Yes,
neighbor under city review. So it says TJ Guerrero has gained international attention this week because of his lemonade stand. Since the story about the neighbor's efforts to shut down the 12-year-old boy's venture ran in Sunday's Tampa Bay Times, TJ has been given donations, treated to a limo ride, and featured in news reports from New York to Europe. He's also given back by donating some of the money to a local animal shelter. Very nice of the kid.
Yeah.
The neighbor, Doug Wilkie, hasn't fared so well. He is now under investigation by the city for all of things, potentially running a business out of his home without a license.
Yes.
Talk about the irony. I mean, this is just thick in irony, boy. The tipster contacted the city and pointed officials towards records that show Wilkie, as recently as March, listed his Patricia Avenue home as his principal business address for Bayport Financial Services. So now you've given out the name of the place that this guy owns, that it's not going to get any more business. Planning Director Greg Rice said officials were drafting a letter notifying Wilkie, 61, that all companies operating in the city require a business tax license, which costs about $45 a year, and that home-based business owners must sign an affidavit agreeing to follow special rules. Now, I don't actually like them. I don't like them using the force of government against this guy, but
It's
the
ironic.
fact that he was asking the government to use the force against this little TJ kid, and this is what's coming back on you. You know what? Again, sometimes people are just going to get theirs.
The 61-year-old man calling the cops on a 12-year-old boy for running a lemonade stand. I mean, he's got to win Cantankerous Curmudgeon of the Year award for
Ooh,
that.
those are big words right there. I don't even know what that stuff means. That's crazy. What are you saying?
Cantankerous Curmudgeon.
That's a lot. That's a lot going on right there. I don't know.
It's alliterative. That's why it's cool.
Okay, that is cool. Okay. I don't. You might have.
I threw you off, didn't I?
Yeah.
You totally.
So the Times reported Sunday that Wilkie had spent the last 2 summers urging City Hall and police to end the illegal business TJ was running in a residential area. He ordered 2 reporters to leave his property Thursday. The irony is Wilkie's not following the rules either, or doesn't seem to be, Rice said. He could face daily fines of $250 if he does not comply with the ordinance. Meanwhile, TJ was across town presenting $200 to the Animal Society of Dallas, where his family years ago adopted a pit bull mix, Jasm 4. Like, this is funny, man. This is really, really, really funny. And again, the guy, you should not have done what you... This was a young, enterprising little kid that just wanted to sell lemonade on the side of the road, that was trying to do something to make some money, which God bless him for doing it. We should be encouraging this kind of behavior instead of you being just a mean old man who, I'm going to try to shut you down because I'm 61 years old and I live here. And like, you dummy, you big dummy. And now you raised up, and it's too bad. Here's the thing. If you're going to complain about somebody else not following the rules, maybe you might want to be worried about following the rules then. I mean, I don't like the rules any more than you do, but I wasn't complaining about a guy at a lemonade stand, you big dummy. I hope people are egging your house. Well, maybe I shouldn't hope people are egging your house. But
well, he's getting what he deserves.
he's getting he's getting his anyway. So I guess that's good. It's good that he's getting his. But
It's classic.
It is classic though. Like this guy, and good job for the kid, by the way. I mean, the kid's doing good job, man. It's so irritating that people just have nothing better to do with their lives.
Yeah.
Than to mess with a kid trying to make some money.
Yeah. Oh, the next story I really want to get into the Largo Police Department.
Oh yeah. Now it's 9:54 right now. Do you want to do the 6 minutes now on it, or do you want to start it at the beginning of the next hour?
Let's
because
start the next hour.
I wouldn't mind giving it some time.
Yeah, let's give it some time. Okay, that's fine.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Because that's an important story. That's the kind of story that people are going to be hearing about all over the country more and more. And
oh yeah.
It's interesting because the Fourth Amendment constitutional right is not one that you hear, well, at least growing up, years before now, you didn't hear about Fourth Amendment rights being infringed upon all that often.
Yeah.
A lot of people talking about First Amendment rights and Second Amendment rights. Fourth Amendment, not one you typically hear about. More and more, we are hearing about Fourth Amendment infringements.
Yeah.
It's Adrian's argument against Real ID, and I've actually seen a few of my other friends experience Fourth Amendment violations recently, and now this one that's getting some media attention. I'd like to see these things get more media attention and start spreading further and wider.
All right, then. Well, I guess we'll have to spread it further and wider here in a couple minutes. Don't give it all away yet. Don't give the farm away yet.
No, I'm teasing.
You laid up a good tease, though. You laid up a good tease. I got to give you credit for the good tease layup, though. The last thing that did happen, I don't know a whole lot about it, but did you hear about what happened in Lee County?
No. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Lee County, their school board just abandoned Common Core.
I did hear about that.
It is going to be a interesting thing here. And the reason why is this is a very, very high stakes game that they're getting ready to play right now. Mm-hmm. And how this turns out will really depend upon if you see this happen all over the state or not. Because there's a lot of people that are against Common Core. The opposition to Common Core has turned bipartisan in many ways.
Absolutely. There is opposition to Common Core on both the left and the right.
Yeah, and the teachers.
And the teachers.
So there's a lot of opposition to it. But what Lee County did, though, in the couple minutes we got left here, 3-2 decision to opt out of all state-mandated exams for its students. So they're just not going to do any of the tests that they're required. Now, the money's attached to the test. Are you going to not do that? Like, are you going to not take the money then? Or are they not going to give you the money and you're going to be okay with that? And now other people are, some other school board members in other districts said they love the idea. Some of them have doubts. Pinellas County. My first reaction was, I took an oath to uphold the law, said Pinellas County School Board member Linda Lerner, a frequent critic of Florida's accountability system. The law suggests that the Lee County School Board overstepped its authority. They're saying that, but I don't think that they did. It does say in a presentation set for September 5th, the rector's meeting, the Florida School Board Association notes that state law requires all school districts to participate in the state's testing system. If they don't, the FSBA document indicates the State Board of Education could withhold state funding and make the district ineligible for competitive grants. So they can hold the money against them, but that's kind of the point here, though, is that you have to, if you're going to do this, you have to be willing to, you're going to have to be willing to not get the money.
Yeah. And it's a shame that the government is going to hold that money against the county, because ultimately it's not the county commissioners, it's not the school board that pays the price, it's the children in the schools. They are ultimately going to pay the price of this battle. Just like every other war, every other battle, the children and the innocent pay the toll.
Yeah. I mean, it's we'll see what happens with this one. This is going to be an interesting case here. And I hope the people in Lee County and the teachers in the schools are going to be able to show that this was a good reason to do this. So,
yeah.
I'm curious to find out what's going to happen here, though. I'm a little nervous, but only a little.
Yeah, it could go really bad, but I'm hoping it goes right for us.
Yeah, I think it will go right. I think it'll go right. So, well, that's hour number 1, folks. It's in the bag. Hour number 2 is going to be coming up, and we're going to bring up a whole bunch of stuff. Matter of fact, we're going to start off with Greg's little tease coming up for hour number 2. You want to call the program, by the way, 1-800-525-4032. Liberty Underground, folks. We'll be back in just a minute.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network. are the people hearing our message, and they're realizing that the libertarian philosophy is essentially what most people believe. It's the simple philosophy that government should be limited, held within its constitutional boundaries, and that other than that, should pretty much leave people alone to live their lives as they see fit, so long as they're not harming anyone else. I'm Adrian Wiley, Libertarian candidate for Governor of Florida, and I approve this message.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know, Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
And we're back. Hour number 2, Liberty Underground Show. 1787network.com. 1787network.com. Actually, one of my favorite announcers, one of my favorite guys does it that way. You know who Chris Markowski is?
Yeah.
Watchdog on Wall. Watchdog on Wallstreet.com. Watchdog on Wallstreet.com. Honestly, one of the best interviews I ever did was with Markowski. One of the best. Not the best, but one of the best. He's fired up on the air. Like, he gets real fired up on the air too. And so it was like a combination of, like, he was firing me up and he was playing devil's advocate and I was firing up and that would fire him up more. And then I was fired up more. And we weren't arguing because he was playing devil's advocate, but I was just knocking the answers out of the park. It was when I was running for office. Love Markowski. Watchdog on Wallstreet.com. You go to his website. He still has a website up on, and he's show too. I think you can hear a podcast. He does a lot of Wall Street stuff. But let's get into the Largo story here.
Yeah. Don't assert your Fourth Amendment right with Largo Police Department.
Yes.
Recently, a young woman called 911 to report a battery against herself and her mother by her 14-year-old sister. 2 Largo police officers arrived on the scene, a male and a female officer. As the mother, the battery victim, began to explain to the male officer why the 911 call had been made, the female officer worked her way through the home and searched inside the rooms. When the mother asked why the female officer was searching her bedroom, the male officer became annoyed and said she should not worry about it because the female officer was in her lawful authority of searching the home.
Pause real quick. Why did she have the lawful authority to do that at the time?
She doesn't that I know of.
Okay. One of the reasons for this is, you remember the 10 rules for dealing with the police, the Flex Your Rights videos?
Right.
You saw that video. Mm-hmm. Once you let them in your home, that is giving them permission to do this. It's wrong.
It doesn't really, and they'll lose it in court.
Well, because of why they were brought there, that is going to play. But once you let the cops in your house, you've given almost like tantamount permission to. Here's the thing: what they can do, let's say you let them in the house, right? You don't really have to let them in all your rooms and all that stuff, but anything that's visible, they can use, and if they have any probable cause based off of anything that's visible, then they can instigate the search. So just letting them in the home, they get the eye over of anything, and what they'll claim is that searching the other rooms is to make sure that they're safe, so they make sure nobody else is in the house.
Right.
Basically, is what they're trying to do there. Mm-hmm. But they should have done anyway, and they should have just said, "Look, we're just making sure that nobody else in the house, safety thing or whatever." They should have been doing it anyway. But I'm sorry, continue that.
No, that's fine. When the mother continued to press the issue concerning the search, the male officer said, "Hey, ma'am, I'll be happy to leave, and then you can deal with this shit yourself." And that's a quote from the officer.
Yeah.
This mother eventually gets arrested. It appears that if you inquire about your Fourth Amendment right under our U.S. Constitution, after you call 911 to summon those entrusted to protect and serve, you are not entitled to taxpayer-funded police services.
Now, why did they arrest her? Do you know why?
That I don't know.
I watched the video, so I know.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the video.
What happened is that basically they were leaving, and then the 14-year-old grabbed her bags and was like, "Take me with you." And the mother stopped her and pushed her back. Not even hard, not even a hard push, but to stop her from leaving. And they arrested her for stopping her from leaving, and they called that assault. And they arrested her right then and there on the spot. All on video. You can watch the whole thing. You go to 1787network.com. It's actually at the top. It's on Florida. The website's called Florida U Judge, which is done by Haiti Oropesa. Beautiful, love Haiti, great thing, and she always finds stuff like this. There's other stuff on there. They do a lot of judging of the judges. Mm-hmm. She's a troublemaker, which is a beautiful thing. We love her.
That's why we love her. Haiti's awesome.
When we say she's a troublemaker, we are saying that in a term of endearment.
She's a troublemaker like us.
Yes, yes. Well, except for she has a law degree, so it's even
she's
cooler.
better at it than we are, for sure.
She's definitely better at it.
We've got loud mouths. She's got credentials.
Yes, correct. It's a very good way of putting it, Greg. It's a very good way of putting it. So this is going on, and this is the attitude of the cops. If you don't like what I'm doing, then I'll just leave. You know what I mean? They don't care. Then other than that, which is sad. Which really is sad, though, considering that they're public servants. Mm-hmm. Don't act like this. The first thing is most people are going to just learn now never to call the cops. Mm-hmm. Which I'll tell you now, it is a very rare day if I ever have to call the police.
Yes.
I've done it. I'm not going to lie. I have done it once. I did it. It was when I was living in Newport Richey. Kelly and Mikey are sleeping in a bedroom that's really close to another property adjacent to this property, and the property was empty. There was nobody living there at the time, but there was some very, very non-animal noises, human noises, coming from the back of the property, and I was a little nervous. It was right after the Zimmerman thing. I had a gun. But my thought was, if I go over there and go shoot the guy, then I'll probably end up going to jail. So instead of doing that, I just called the police. And the police showed up. And when they did, they went to the back. They found the guy, what he was doing. And what he was doing was basically taking the taking the aluminum off of the screen porch in the back to go and sell it. That's what he was doing. Now, again, he was infringing on the other person's property because even though nobody lives there, doesn't mean that nobody owns it. So the property owner was getting screwed in the process. And the guy who was doing it was actually the next door neighbor. So, like, you had my house, then you had the house in the middle, which was the house he was doing it at, and then you had the neighbor's house. Now, here's the thing, man. Don't do that crap. What are you doing? I mean, there's no need for that. Now, so the cops came. They were going to arrest the guy. And then I said, don't arrest the guy. He didn't do too much damage. Don't arrest the guy. You know, and so they did arrest him. They did not arrest him. And the cops were really cool. Like, I got to say, the other thing is this. Look, I hear about all these issues with police all the time. It never happens to me. It never even closely ever happens to me. Every time I'm dealing with the cops, and I don't know what it is, but they're always nice. They're always respectful. They're never dicks. They're never mean to me. Now, I don't know why that is. It might be because I'm not I don't do anything dumb, because I always think don't be a dick to a guy with a gun. I mean, I go with that theory right there. Like, I'm not going to start yelling at the guy. But at the same time, I'm not going to back down from where I'm at either on things. But I've never even had to, the cops I've never had a cop encounter with me that has gone that way. I mean, in anything we've been doing.
You're lucky.
I am lucky. No. I'm very lucky.
And you also, you don't fit a profile that puts them into an aggressive or defensive state immediately with you.
Yeah. Even though I was wielding a knife when the cops showed up at the Pinellas County, or in the Pasco County thing. I was wielding a Marine Corps K-bar knife. I did have that because I put the gun away. I was like, well, I don't want to, I'll get shot for this one. But I had the knife, though. So, and then I put it away after that because, the guys were like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, no, nothing, man. I'll go put this away. I don't need that. I'm not coming in to stab you. Like, I didn't know what was going on over there, though, but I didn't want to pull a Zimmerman either. I even said that to the cops. It was just after the Zimmerman thing. So it was one of those things like, sure, boy, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
But these guys, Largo, get your act straight, man.
Well, now this is the kind of story. It's a whole new analogy for the police, because now they're like vampires. You don't want to invite them into your home, because then they have run of the place and you can't get them out, and you will pay with your life potentially.
Well, no, that's true. And you should, no matter when you call the police, do not invite them into your home. That is a rule. You should always follow that rule.
Yes.
Do not. If you got to talk to them, lock your door. Go outside, lock your door, and then engage in a conversation with them. Do not let them into your house ever. Mm-hmm. Wait till they have a warrant for that, because you never know what you never know what's gonna happen. Again, one of the greatest videos. If you go to YouTube and YouTube like Flex Your Rights, you'll see this video that they have, the 10 rules of dealing with the police. Great video. Highly suggest that you watch it, because it does give you some good tips and some good advice as to what you should do when it comes to encountering the police. And don't get me wrong, it's actually kind of like, it's funny if you watch the beginning of the video, and the first thing is be polite, be courteous but firm, don't raise your voice, don't make any sudden movements. And even in the video, some of the people are like, well, why would we do that? These guys they're not giving us any respect. It's like, look, man, it's a guy with a gun, man. What are you going to do? I mean, basically is what the guy was saying. But also that's done so that later on, if the cops do infringe on your rights, that the lawyer that you hire can now go after the cops, and you didn't do anything. If you didn't do anything wrong, then they can sue those cops, and they can sue the city for money because they infringed on your rights.
Yeah. Part of it is about not giving them any excuses to infringe on your rights.
Correct. Yep, that's absolutely correct. And you got to make sure that you're doing that you're not giving these guys a reason.
Yeah, because if you escalate, they will escalate, and they will always escalate harder.
Yeah. And remember, they got the gun at the ready right now, and they're itching to use it.
That's what police are trained to do, is to walk into a situation and take control of it and be in control until it's done. And if you are not going to concede control to them and be respectful in dealing with them, they are going to take control. That's why they carry guns and nightsticks. They will start with a firm voice. If that does not work, they will go to the nightstick. If that does not work, sometimes they'll just skip that and go right to the gun and put you down.
Yeah. It's very possible that they will do that very thing.
They will If you escalate, they will escalate, and they will win.
Yeah.
They will call in backup until they win if they have to.
Yep. Now, again, we're not telling people to lay down for the cops at all. Know your rights first and foremost, which is why we're suggesting that you watch the video, because what the video does is it gives you a whole lot of different ways in which you can, that you know your rights, that you know what you can say and what you can't say, that you know what the laws are and what the laws aren't, and to be able to use those things to your advantage at the time. So make sure that you watch that.
It's about standing up to the cops in an effective manner. You want to stand up to the cops in a way that you can potentially win. Not stand up to them in a way that is going to get you tased and thrown in a cage.
Yeah.
But stand up to the cops in a way where when you are in the right and you are asserting your rights, that you can come out with a victory on the other end.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. So, with that being said, you got to be, these guys are going to get in trouble for this because this thing's on video. The Largo police, you guys really do need to, check yourself here, because it's, again, somebody asserting their rights. You're still getting paid, guy. Mm-hmm. You're still able to steal the money to make sure you get your paycheck. So, calm down, let people assert their dang rights. And remember, that person that you just arrested pays taxes that pays your salary. You want to act like a jerk, then go ahead and act like a jerk, I guess. But, people like you should be thrown definitely off the force, if not in jail entirely yourselves. But that's what's going on with that story as well. Other things that are going on around the state of Florida. No. Actually, I want to bring up the stuff going on globally here, because I've heard some things, and it really starting to irk me, by the way. But I know we got Brandon coming on, so I know Brandon will want to address this stuff as well. ISIS. What's going on in Iraq and Syria?
Can anyone answer that question? It's chaos.
Well, what irks me is I've been watching some of the media reports, and they are conveniently leaving a whole lot of stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is kind of disturbing the depths that the neocons will go to not tell the truth about what's going on. And let's first talk about how the United States has created the vacuum in Iraq. That this vacuum was created by the United States.
Yes.
This is not true at all. And let me explain why. They're blaming Obama for pulling out. But in reality, we were kicked out because they did not do the status of forces agreement to keep our people there. Obama wanted to do this, and the Iraqi government didn't want him to do this. Now, the problem that comes in even before that, though, is the government that we installed.
Yes.
And that is a majority... what's the word for it? The Sunnis and the Shias. Well, that's why I need Danielle, because Danielle will tell me which one is Sunnis. No, the Shias. The Shias were the ones they put in charge, and they were basically infringing on the rights of the Sunnis. They weren't letting them participate in the government, and they were just kind of treating them like dirt. And we supported it. Mm-hmm. Not only do we support it, but we gave them a whole bunch of weapons in order to continue to support it.
Mm-hmm.
And that really irked these guys. But even the other guys didn't want us there anymore. So we left. Now, at the same time that we're leaving there is this group in Syria that is fighting Assad. We help the group in Syria fighting Assad, even though basically they're the same people that would be considered Al-Qaeda in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And we help those guys in Libya as well. So we help them in Libya. We help them in Syria. But we're fighting them in Iraq.
Yes.
And they're going to go, well, they were different names. Okay. You're right. You're right. They do. The media did give them different names. but they're all the same because they were all the same religious sect within Islam.
Yep.
And they change the names on purpose against you. And the reason that they do that is to make it so it's not as clear as what I'm making it to get today, that these are our own problems because we're supporting them in one area. Do you think they won't use the weapons in another area?
Right.
So what happened is that we were helping those guys, the Free Syrian Army, which was Al-Qaeda in Iraq, against Assad. And then somehow somebody claims that chemical weapons were used. Not really any. I mean, there's proof that chemical weapons were used. No proof that Assad did it. Nor would Assad do it, though, because he knew what would happen or what he thought would happen after that. So now we equip those guys there. They run roughshod into Iraq and take over and take all the weapons that the guys that were the same religion as they were dropped for them. They're like, well, I'm not fighting those guys. They're my brother. Drop the weapons. ISIS guys pick them up, and then they just start killing everybody. You convert or die.
Yep.
And now you hear none of that stuff being told. They blame Obama for it. He did nothing in Syria. That's not true. He did something in Syria, and he, withdrew from Iraq as quick as possible. No, we were thrown out of Iraq. Again, neocons, tell the truth. Quit lying. The lying is what's getting us in trouble. The lying is what's getting our troops killed.
Yes.
And, there was somebody on Facebook that said, I like the libertarians except for, they're horrible on national defense. Are you kidding me? Are you seriously kidding me? Suicide rates in the military are the highest it's ever been. We have a broken military right now for all intents and purposes that was done to us by Democrats and Republicans. We want to bring them home. Don't tell me that somehow my position isn't the position that's the best for the troops. The libertarian position is the only position that is best for the troops. And we wouldn't let the VA do what they're doing right now to the troops when they get back. They treat them like cannon fodder over there. Then when they bring them back, they treat them like dogs. That's what they do. They treat them like dogs. Mm-hmm. They give them separate hospitals that have lower standards than the other hospitals, that they can't get serviced on time, that all they think they are is a bunch of Oscar the Grouches. And I say Oscar the Grouches because that's that's what they used in one of the training videos for one of the VAs.
Yes.
So don't tell me that somehow my position is against the military. I'd argue the Democrats and Republicans are definitely against the military. So before we go down that road, and Paul Ryan wants to come up here talking about, he did Hannity's show yesterday, and I caught it for a couple minutes when Paul Ryan was on. Dude, put on a uniform or shut your hole.
Yeah.
Put on a uniform, or I don't want to hear another word from you. You failure. You disgusting piece of human trash. But at any rate, that's what's going on with ISIS, and the neocons are going out there trying to change history again.
Mm-hmm.
And it really irks me that this is what they're trying to do. And they know that the American public does not want to do anything, so that's why they've ramped up that ISIS is the most dangerous grouping ever, which, don't get me wrong, they're pretty damn dangerous because we armed them and armed them.
Yeah.
Let's go into the why on that one before we get a little crazy. So, I mean, just...
Isn't the going into the why getting into the crazy?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, at any rate, that's what's going on with ISIS. What we do about it, guys... I don't even know what you do about this one, man. There is an argument to be made that we should go over there and destroy all the equipment we gave to the Iraqis. I don't think we should, but maybe we should. I don't know.
Maybe we should get Snapchat in as a military contractor. So like after we pull out, the weapons just disappear.
Ooh, that's a good idea. And disable them all.
Yeah, just all the weapons just don't work anymore.
Just make an automatic kill switch for any weapons we give to terrorists. That'd be nice if we would do that. If we actually would give
we need to start selling weapons like the guy from Fifth Element. If they were a real killer, they'd ask what the red button on the side is.
Good point, by the way. Very good point, by the way. So it is a bad situation, guys. I'm not going to say it is a good situation because it's bad. What we do, though, I really don't know. I think it would be better if we just allowed the Iraqis to fix this thing. And if they end up with like a 3-state solution, then so be it.
Yeah.
Then break up Iraq then. You're just going to have to do that. It's our fault that we've gotten to the point that we're at right now, and not because the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to not give them I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt right now and say, okay, let's say everybody had good intentions. Doesn't change the fact that look at the results. It's the results that's important here.
Our intentions have us an 8-lane highway to hell, but we're still not getting any good results.
Oh, by the way, though, hold on. In the latest update here, now what we're going to do in Syria is help Assad against ISIS. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, because that's a brilliant idea.
I mean,
that's
we were helping them before. McCain was taking selfies with them, and now we're going to go bomb them and help Assad, who they thought laid chemical weapons on the people. Is any of this sound crazy yet, folks? Because it all sounds completely nuts to me. Because it's funny that libertarians that say that, well, we ought to have a non-interventionist foreign policy like the founders of this country and not get involved in entangling alliances with other countries, somehow that's crazy. But the other one's not?
Well, if it's not crazy enough for you yet, let's take another step.
Take another step for me.
We know they have chemical weapons because we sold them the chemical weapons. We produced the chemical weapons. They were made in Jamestown, Pennsylvania. And then we sold them to them and shipped them from the United States to Syria. Once again, we hold the purchase order on the chemical weapons that the brutal madman in the Middle East is using on his own people.
Crazy.
Yes, same chemical
Absolutely.
weapons that we arm our own police forces with, and they're using on protesters in Ferguson, Missouri, just so you know.
Yeah. Unbelievable, by the way. Really, unbelievable. Well, let's I guess we're going to take a break here. Hold on. Before we take a break, let me just say one thing. And we haven't gotten into this part yet, but we'll get into the Scott and Chris thing, because I'll dedicate a lot of time to this one again. But Nan Rich, who was not embarrassed, but who was treated like crap by Charlie Crist, who was treated like crap by the Democrat Party as a whole, was at a Florida Dems Unity rally in Orlando. In a show of party unity after a sometimes contentious primary election, 2014 Democratic gubernatorial nominee Charlie Crist embraced former challenger Nan Rich to the delight of cheering supporters during a rally at the Painters and Allied Trades Union Hall in Orlando Thursday. Crist and Rich were joined by a bevy of big-name Democrats, including National Committee Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Florida Senior Senator Bill Nelson, Miami-Dade Democratic Chair and running mate to Charlie Crist, Annette Tedito, among others. So, Nan Rich, who knows that Charlie Crist is the worst guy for the job, will completely abandon all principle, act like a complete hypocrite, and show that she doesn't care about principle at all. All she cares about is her D's winning.
Yes.
That's all she cares about. You know what, Nan Rich? I had a lot of respect for you. Have none any further. Not a lick. Not a lick of respect for you, woman. I can't believe that you would abandon your principles as much as you have. And you know what here? Here's the thing, too. This union hall, they probably forced all their people to show up to it. And they look like there might be about 100 people in this thing. About as many people that showed up to one of the brew tours for Adrian Wiley. So before you Dims think you got anything special going on, which you don't, figures you do it at a trade union though, just to show you where you guys are at though. At any rate, so that's what's going on here, folks. Gotta have good hopes for Adrian Wiley in this race, man.
Yeah.
Because the other two candidates are just so offensive. But we'll talk about that in the third hour. Coming up next, though, is Brandon from the Global Dispatch. Tell us about news that we might have missed. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
This is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Are the people hearing our message, and they're realizing that the libertarian philosophy is essentially what most people believe. It's the simple philosophy that government should be limited, held within its constitutional boundaries, and that other than that, should pretty much leave people alone to live their lives as they see fit, so long as they're not harming anyone else. I'm Adrian Wiley, Libertarian candidate for Governor of Florida, and I approve this message.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know, Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground. Hopefully everybody is doing well. Up next, a gentleman that we all know, we all love, that does bring a level of credibility to the show that is that helps, definitely helps. His name is Brandon Jones. He is from the Global Dispatch. And he is going to talk to us about a lot of the things going on his website, which is theglobaldispatch.com. It's a great news site, actually, if you wanted to look it up. They do keep up to date with a lot of different information. One thing about one of the things they do is they do some of the outbreak stuff. I know we were talking about that with him before. But they do a lot of stuff when it comes to the outbreak news. That's different kinds of diseases that are making their way around the world. And he also has a good perspective. So is he coming over yet?
The call seems to have gotten lost in the transfer.
Ah, really?
It might be doing it.
Oh, he's calling back now. So, all right. Well, we wait a minute. Let him call back here real quick before we can get this thing going on. On the top of there, actually, he's going to be talking about.
Okay.
I think he's going to bring up a.
Hold on. Call into the direct line real quick.
All right, we'll give him the direct line number here. We're going to give him the direct line. Why I talk over that so we don't give everybody the direct line number, because then everybody would just call in with the direct line. Don't know why, but we wouldn't want to give everybody the direct line on the thing. But there's a lot of different stuff going on worldwide, and he really does pay attention to a lot of this stuff. I know that the first thing that's on top of the site right now, though, Obama threatens Russia with more sanction as death toll hits 2,600. I'm very interested to find out about this information. He also does bring us movie news as well, which is always kind of nice. Always like to hear about the news of what movies are coming out, and also with some of the TV shows. I always think it's pretty interesting to do that. So, is he coming up? Is he there?
I'm trying.
I've run out of things to say before Brandon's segment. I can't believe I've just said that.
I don't know why this isn't working.
Oh,
I think it's because you messed with the phones.
Do you think it's because I messed with the phones?
Yeah.
Oh, is it the other number's not working? So is the Skype not turned on that phone or on that computer?
Are you getting voicemail as well, calling that line?
Oh man, no, that was my mic that you did. All right, well, we'll get to Brandon here in a second.
Okay.
He is, like I said, they're frantically working on this end to try to make this thing happen here. One thing is, I know that we've been doing a whole lot of what's the word for it? We've been doing a whole lot for Wiley's campaign for the craft brewery tour, and I will tell you that we have gotten a response from that tour that has been, I mean, just really an amazing response that we've gotten from the craft brewery tour. It's nice to see. We've gotten a lot of people that have come in there that have been new people, not people that I've seen before. People that are not normally involved with politics as well, that are just they're getting involved. And that part has been very, very good to see. But at the same time, it's been really cool considering that, and I don't think we're going to be able to do is it still not working?
Okay. I'm going to try and call you from the Skype line then.
All right, yeah, let's try to call him from the Skype line. That might work. Sorry, folks, for the technical difficulties this morning. It's not working out nearly as well as we were hoping it was going to work out, but it is. He is working on it right now, though. It's kind of funny, though.
Sit there with dead air.
I'm trying not to sit there with dead air. And in watching these things, though, and watching these businesses that we're going out to in the craft brewery tour, these craft breweries are some phenomenal places. We talked about a lot on Wednesday's show, actually. So if you go back to our YouTube channel, which is the 1787 Network, you can actually see that stuff as well. But now on the line with us, we finally got it fixed up. Brandon from the Global Dispatch. Brandon, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm very good. How are you holding up, my friend?
I'm not doing too bad. I wish our technology worked better than it did, but I appreciate you hanging on for dear life there.
That's fine. I heard my name was used in vain during the ISIS conversation. I hope you didn't leave any, didn't cover all the bases and leave me completely out.
No. We talked a little bit about it, but I always like your perspective on it anyway. So even if we go through it again, I actually don't mind at all. Do you want to start there first, Brandon?
Well, we can, I think, because that's where the most news is. I mean, obviously, there's something that's happening nearly every day. Nidal Hassan, Robert George from Princeton University are both spoke about. Nidal Hassan had actually wrote a letter to the leader of ISIS asking to be part of the caliphate. Of course, after our last call 2 weeks ago, that was when the video was released of the execution of James Foley. The other prisoners' names were released. They released one of their other prisoners, and they now have another foreign aid worker. So, I mean, the group is obviously staying in the headlines right now. Plus, Islamic State, let me make sure everybody understands Islamic State. It is what they call another name for a caliphate. So they just believe in this ultra Sunni-based interpretation of Islam, very violent, very intolerant. It's the same thing that Boko Haram is doing in Nigeria. We talked about them a lot, and they call what they're doing also an Islamic State. Doesn't mean that they're connected and that they're moving arms or anything back and forth or anything like that. It's just that the ideology is exactly the same. That's a little bit different than trying to say that the ISIS terrorists are exactly the same as, let's say, Al-Qaeda or Al-Nusra or whatever. The similarity there is they're Sunnis, but their level of extremism may be a little bit differently. So, for instance, when we said Saddam Hussein is working with Al-Qaeda, it's only partially true. They have a like-minded agenda, that they weren't exactly having tea together and sharing coffee after blowing something up in Yemen. It's a like-minded agenda. It does not necessarily mean that they're totally working together. So it is very complicated. I understand that for readers and listeners, so that's why we try to cover it here on your show.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we've talked about this before, is that we talked about how religiously they're all part of the same sect, the Sunni sect, right?
That is correct. Now, what we did in Iraq, though, we removed the Sunni sect, the violent Sunni sect. There was kind of a secular Sunni sect, but it's the violent Sunni sect. We installed a Shia sect. That's the Shiites. They're like those are like the Iranians. And in Syria, we kind of have the reverse, where Assad is in charge. He's a Shia, and the rebels are the Sunnis. Well, we sided with the rebels, so it's very contradictory plans with how we handled Syria and how we handled Iraq. We actually, in each case, supported the opposite group, and that's what makes this so complicated. So we now have taken away the Sunni that balanced out Iran in Iraq. We upset that apple cart. And the Sunnis, of course, are they're a much smaller portion of the population. Saddam Hussein had murdered hundreds of thousands of Kurds, so they weren't obviously going to support any Sunnis going into their government structure. So whenever we installed democratic elections, people actually running for office, Sunnis were never winning. So everybody started to cry foul like it was some sort of grand conspiracy. Well, it's not a grand conspiracy when you have, 30 years of people that are being murdered by your party. No one wants to elect you. So that's where a lot of that animosity lies. There's no way to sort of, flip that cart back over and not think there's repercussions. The three-legged stool don't have equal legs built on it.
Yeah.
Similarly, in Syria, the problem is the country is just such a third world nation. There's literally just what Damascus has. It's what the Assad government gives them. There's really just nothing else. You can't just be a farmer and live in this place. There's just desert. It's just an awful condition. So the Sunnis that are rising up there by getting arms from elsewhere, and then ultimately they got arms from us. Now they side with the Sunnis that are in Iraq that are angry minorities. They side with Al-Qaeda terrorists that are Sunnis. They side with al-Nusra terrorists that are Sunnis. They pull all these people together, and that's what we're seeing now. It's all manifesting in one big movement. And what's different about this than the typical terrorists is the Islamic State group wants territory. They're there to take towns. They're there to take control of geography. That's different than the terrorist that wants to invoke fear and release a video and those kinds of things. So this is definitely a little bit of a different approach than what we've seen in the last 10 years.
Yeah, they're trying to provide infrastructure fixes for the areas that they've taken over.
Yeah, they want to run it. It's ours now, and Boko Haram controls northern Nigeria. So they're not going to do any infrastructure work. They could care absolutely less as long as they're kind of king of the castle. But they control it. The government there doesn't even have. They have such military capability with Boko Haram that their Nigerian government really can't even push back. They've done nothing for 5 years. This started back in 2009, and they've had several states of emergency across the country. But at some point, when your hole is so big, now you want to climb out of it. Well, it's a little bit too late now if you've ignored the problem for so many years.
Yeah, yeah. Now, in seeing this and in taking a look at all of these things, when it comes to the Middle East area right there, what do you think? First off, what do you think we're going to do as the United States goes, and what do you think should be done? Which probably is two different things, but.
Well, it's two different things because I think that the politicians will cave to public pressure. They'll cave to the PR that they believe, whatever their aides in Washington are told. They don't actually survey America. Americans don't really get a say in anything. They decide what we think we want them to do, and they will probably do some increase of military intervention. I'm more of I want to cooperate with the government by asking them, what do you want me to do? I would have gone to the leadership of Iraq and said, listen, these people are they got Christians on a hill, they're starving people, they're blowing people up. Do you want our help anything? Do you want us to provide you with some drone support? What do you want us to do? We're here to help you. But having that relationship with each country, when they say no, you gotta live with the no, because some of these countries do not want your help. And that's part of the problem. We saw that in Syria. The Assad regime become the enemy, and we still want to be involved. And now it's flipped on its head where we kind of have to go to Assad and say, listen, do you need help? Well, he's going to, what he told us, he's like, don't you do anything without talking to me first. He wants the upper hand. He wants to be the big boy at the table. And that's where the foreign policy has become such a mess, because we never go into these with a cooperative thing. We have a John McCain, Lindsey Graham, John Bolton attitude of let's just go ahead and just do what we want to do. Who are they to say? I mean, John McCain makes one insulting comment after another about a world leader nearly every day now. He mispronounces their names. He speaks so poorly of them. It's such a blessing to know that he's not running our country when this is how he handles his general conversation.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now, let's move to another area real quick, and let's move to Russia, and let's move to the Ukraine, because this is another really bad situation all in and of itself here.
Yeah.
What's going on up there right now?
Well, it's kind of falls off the radar screen. We don't have enough room on the headlines. It moved to the top only because President Obama talked about it in yesterday's press conference. He did talk about the Iraq situation, but he also talked about Ukraine. And again, here we don't want to, neither group wants us to really involved because it involves military. So the Ukrainians, I think, want us on their side, and Ukrainians probably want us to support them, but they don't want us to actually militarily get involved. So diplomatically and just verbally, it's okay to say something. Just don't come over here with any tanks or soldiers. Putin, of course, is just laughing at it. Like, go ahead and bring me your sanctions. I'll sanction you worse than you'll ever sanction me. So who's going to come out on top? I'm going to cut off your allies before you ever affect me. So Putin's going to call them out on those. So it's really not a good situation to try to get himself involved in. It's violent. It's not gotten any better. The death toll is actually closer to 3,000 because we have to count the airplane that went down, even though we can't really prove that it was pro-Russia Ukrainians that shot it down, even though we report that it is because we have validation. It's not technically being recognized that way yet, but the death toll is already up to 3,000.
Now, and this also seems to be also a like a de facto fight in the Cold War almost now. It's almost going back to something like that. At least it seems to me is. I know that we don't have a lot of troops on the ground, but I think we do have some people on the ground over there that are helping the Ukrainians, and I think that the Russians are helping the people from Crimea, and they're helping the pro-Russian faction that's there. And so you basically have a fight going on right now that's just, a little pseudo fight.
Oh, absolutely. I think we talked about briefly how, you have a faction of Ukraine that wanted to support the Nazis. This is a very divided country. It always has been. In post-Cold War, this country's still divided. And just because somebody drew a line on a map and said this is where the border is, the people didn't live that way. And you have this pro-Russian group that didn't agree with a lot of the economic decisions, the Ukraine wanting to move towards European Union membership. They want to move towards it and away from Mother Russia, and that didn't sit well. And it's still not sitting well, and it's become very violent, very volatile because there's not a way to reconcile. It's an A or B. There is no compromise because the compromise is not on the table. And so until something changes, this isn't going to end anytime soon.
Yeah, this is another. And if we get involved in stuff like this, man, this is one of those things that can turn into a full-blown nuclear war.
Well, there's no way for us to militarily get involved with either side, obviously. I don't think the Ukrainians are wanting our help militarily. You mentioned people on the ground. I think we definitely have experts on the ground. We have, ops on the ground, but we don't have like tanks and things like that. If we start doing stuff like that, it could definitely turn into something that's, out of a Tom Clancy novel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're right, no big arms, but it's the other stuff. It's the special operators that we got that is the kind of the problem here.
Absolutely.
Now we've gone over Ukraine, all the problems there. We've gone over the Middle East, all the problems there. Domestically, what's been going on that has kind of popped up on your radar?
Well, obviously the Michael Brown thing kind of is still just simmering. Obviously, Ferguson is still a hot topic by the mainstream press, and immediately after our last call, there was a lot more information that came out publicly about the videos, the robbery that had taken place. Of course, we know more about the witnesses. They've changed their story. We also have 12 other witnesses that have not talked to the press, and they paint a completely different picture. So you have really kind of a big muddled mess there in Missouri as well. You also have a couple other stories that no one's really talking about. The Hobby Lobby thing, the Obamacare mandate stuff, even though the Supreme Court came down and ruled on that, the Obama administration is kind of still moving forward with the way, because all of that stuff is done through the tax code. Remember, you're paying into this through your taxes. You're monitored through your taxes. So they're doing a lot of real fancy bookkeeping on how they're going to handle some of that. So the Hobby Lobby argument has not gone away. Similarly, there's another.
Well, hang on before you go to the next thing. What kind of accounting trick are they trying to use here?
Well, they've gone to Congress and they tried to pass a bill, and that failed dramatically. Not going to get through the House, no matter what they try to pull. So it's just the way that they're changing some of the laws with the taxes, so that they're trying to make it as though Hobby Lobby won't have to be put in, but somehow the employee can still get the coverage. So there's a lot of this finagling around with the Obamacare list. It's so like again, it was built to be 2,000 pages when it started. We don't even know how big this stuff is now. So it's so convoluted and confusing. And you can read a few of the quotes in the article of them trying to get to it and what the code actually says, but it's just a mess. And reality is they feel like, well, even though the Supreme Court didn't like it, we still want to do it. And that's what's happening.
So they're just trying to do everything they can to do whatever they want to do and screw any other kind of what the Congress wants or what the Supreme Court rules on. It doesn't matter. They're just going to do their thing and Constitution be damned.
Well, absolutely, because the company, Hobby Lobby or any of the others that agree with that, that are speaking out against the contraceptive mandate, or it doesn't matter, you, the community, because we see this with schools, right? We have school districts that are scared to death because if God is on, this is the new thing, God is on their plaque when the school was dedicated, so they're scared to death of a lawsuit. So it doesn't matter if the community is behind that. Because of that, we want them shut down. We want this plaque taken down. We want all that. So the groups that are moving this way, this sort of extreme approach to thing, is we know better than everyone else. You don't have a right to say this is what needs to happen. We don't care about the Constitution. We don't care about the Supreme Court rules. We don't care about all that. And that is the direction that everything is moving.
Yeah, which is sad, but I mean,
absolutely,
it seems to be that way. Now, what was the other thing you were going to bring up there? I hated to interrupt you, but I wanted to kind of flush that part of it out.
Well, there are two others that happened this week as well. Obviously, Detroit returned to shutting people's water off. They're completely broke and bankrupt. You have like 20-something thousand people that still haven't paid their bill. They're processing the street that it's a human right to have water, but they don't pay their bill for it. So shutting off of the water resumed this week, as well as a new documentary was announced. You'll see it there. It's called Unfair. It deals with the IRS scandal and breaking down into a lot more detail. It's going to be a film that's going to be released through Fathom Events, and that's on October 14th. So we broke that announcement as well.
Now, okay, then the water. Let's do the water one first. Is water a human right? I mean, that it almost sounds like it should be, but it's not, though.
Why isn't it?
Well, here's the thing: I guess you can have all the water you want. Like you can go to the river and have water if you want to. But the pipe and the infrastructure that gets it into your house, though, something that requires to be paid for. And so while they can't deny you from going to the lake, I mean, I don't think I'd go to Lake Michigan to go get some water. Better bring a life straw with you if you're going to do something like that. But, to keep the system, if it was just a human right, then everybody would be able to not pay their water bill. And, I mean, somebody's got to pay the water bill, right? I mean, somebody's got to pay for the infrastructure to get the water to you. So and that city is broke. I think that another reason I wanted to bring this up a little bit more, I think you're going to see more of this. I think more of this is happening around the country, and that you're going to see more of this kind of step up and say, thirsty for justice or whatever. So it's, you don't want people to die of not having water, but at the same time, you got to pay your water bill, right?
I know we're running up against the top of the hour, so if I need to stay on, I can. But let me just explain to you how locally I've stumbled across a story here locally where I guess TECO can shut off power. So let's say someone moved out of a home or they're gone so long, the power's not only shut off, they actually will red tag the pole. So the pole's completely disconnected, allegedly. So they're not wanting the responsibility of turning this back on easily, that you have to go through a different system somehow to get a permit to turn the electricity back on. And we're kind of researching what the actual policy change here is, but it starts to sound kind of like the same kind of thing. Like, so people can't afford their electric bills. At some point, you can get so far behind, they shut you off. So now you got to go through some sort of county red tape to somehow make sure you get it turned on. It's just like we're on this slippery slope where we've taken for granted that the utilities are going to be accessible. And I think that's what we're seeing in Detroit. The utility is not accessible because no one's paying their bill. And it's a slippery slope into bankruptcy because, you know, they're marching in the street, but no one will pay their bill. Now, I shouldn't say no one because they actually have a good, you know, couple thousand people that have worked out payment plans. But reality is, you're right. Can they go to Michigan and get their water? Yeah, I guess they can. But if you want water on your house, then you got to figure something out.
Yeah. Well, and in a city like Detroit, like they are really going broke. I mean, they don't. It's not like they have money in the coffers to pay for this. And look, and if you will, here's the thing too. I guess it kind of is funny because we had the ice bucket challenge. How about the give people the city of Detroit money for their water challenge? Like, I mean, this is what you could do for a charity at this point, where these people, like, you know, they're broke, they're in destitute, they're not in good condition. Why don't we have a charity that's actually trying to help these guys instead of, you know, the ice bucket challenge, I guess you could say.
It doesn't sound nearly as narcissistic as the ice bucket challenge.
Well, that's true. And if anybody challenged me for the ice bucket challenge, I'm just going to send them back a bird.
Isn't this become like the most narcissistic, trying to pretend that it's altruistic thing that we may have ever seen our country actually do? I've never seen something that's I mean, fads are always kind of narcissistic in their nature like this, but YouTube and the way celebrities have handled this, it becomes this look at me and look at what I'm doing thing instead of actually just giving money to the ALS.
Yeah, no, it has, and then everybody wants to do something different with it, and then they don't like the way this one's being done.
Do this, do that. It's embarrassing.
I will say this one. The one I did find to be a little bit humorous, though, was the Bush one.
There were tons of great ones. Benedict Cumberbatch's was fantastic. However, at some point, though, like I said, it's more about them. It's not even about what they're supposedly trying to raise awareness or money for.
Yeah,
I like the ice bucket challenge done by Be Real from Cypress Hill.
Did he have like?
He poured a bucket of ganja over his head.
That's good.
He's like, we've got a water shortage here in California, so I'm going to take a different turn on this.
Well, they got a water shortage in California too. I mean, here's the thing: Detroit doesn't have the same problem that California does right now. The water ain't coming ain't because of non-payment; it's because of not being there.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different thing. Yeah, a lot of problems going on out there, man, Brandon. A lot of problems, but it's good that you're out there covering it honestly, sir. At least somebody is
doing the best I can, my friend.
You are doing the best that you can. Now, we got to get into the last thing here, and we only got a very limited amount of time. But Walking Dead, so it looks like it's going to begin October 12th, though.
Yes.
All things are looking that way. Is there anything new that you've heard of?
No, I don't, but I would say keep an eye out on the Dispatch for an article later this afternoon.
Uh-oh. Was that like a little preview, man? Is that like a little teaser?
I can do a little teaser that way. Is that all right?
Nice. I'll take that. I'll take that, Brandon. I'll take that. I think you deserve to be able to do a teaser if you want to. And that is theglobaldispatch.com. If you do want to know anything about Walking Dead later on, go to his website sometime this afternoon.
Let me squeeze in one last thing and give kudos to Robert Harriman. He was interviewed by Jesse Ventura on his Off the Grid show this week talking about the Ebola outbreak. So that was a pretty exciting time to be on TV as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm always worried about Robert always catching a disease. He does keep himself safe, though, correct?
Absolutely. No concerns there.
No concerns there. Okay, that's good, because I was a little concerned at times because I don't want Robert to catch anything. So, unless he wants to catch it, and then it's more power to him. But it would not make a good story. It wouldn't add to the story either way. So, but his name is Brandon. The website is theglobaldispatch.com. Brandon, thank you again so much, man. Thank you for helping us through the technical difficulties of getting you on, but it was well worth it.
Yes.
Take care and talk hard.
Talk hard, man. Always a good time. We're talking to Brandon, man. Always a good time talking to Brandon. Like I said, he adds a level of credibility to the show that would not normally be there.
Exactly.
But that is hour number 2, folks. Hour number 3, which we will do live on Tan Talk 1340, will be coming up here shortly. In that hour, though, boy, we're going to bring you up a lot about politics here. Politics is going to be big time. So, I don't know what this is. What does this mean?
Oh, I was scratching my hand.
Oh, that was not a sign?
No.
Oh, okay. Oops. I thought you were giving me something. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? It's behind the mic. You're doing something.
Scratching an itch.
Oh, all right. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
This is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Are the people hearing our message, and they're realizing that the libertarian philosophy is essentially what most people believe. It's the simple philosophy that government should be limited, held within its constitutional boundaries, and that other than that, should pretty much leave people alone to live their lives as they see fit, so long as they're not harming anyone else.
I'm Adrian Wiley, Libertarian candidate for Governor of Florida, and I approve this message.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know, Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Hand, don't be mistaken.
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandra, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground, along with me, the Prime Minister of the Sinister, Greg Bowen. How are you doing, sir?
Spectacular.
Very well. Glad that you're doing well, Greg. Hopefully everybody else is doing well. Danielle has some other things. She has some business to take care of, so she is not able to be with us this week on the air. However, she is here in spirit and probably about 15 feet away. But she has got a lot of stuff we got to take care of because we got a big trip that we have to do here before we take off here. The one thing I want to get right into this stuff because it's just something to get right into, especially for the hour that we're on Tan Talk 1340. And that is that these guys, what's the word for it here? The Rick Scott, Charlie Crist versus Scott. Of course, Adrian Wiley's the Libertarian candidate that's in the mix there. But this race is already pissing off the voters.
How can it not?
Yeah, and this is from the Orlando Sentinel, by the way. And this is just a sign of things to come here. But most Floridians are already so sick of Rick Scott and Charlie Crist that they feel they have to choose between, and this is really funny, by the way, they have to choose between rug burn and a rash. Which is very funny, by the way. Between rug burn and a rash. I mean, it is a good way of looking at it. And it looks like this race between Crist and Scott, not between Wiley, because he's not going to have as much money as they're going to have, of course. But what you're looking at here is a $200 million attack ad campaign that's getting ready to start.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's already started in some ways, but it's really going to pick up now that the primaries are over.
Yeah.
And there is so much to attack on both of these guys that it's not even funny. That they will have nothing but content for negative ads.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I don't even know if these guys will put out an ad of what they're actually going to do if they're elected. I think that they'll only put out ads of how bad the other guy is.
Yes.
And I believe, and this may sound like a wild conspiracy theory, but I'm going to go with it anyway. They're doing this on purpose. And there's a reason for it. We talked in the first hour, and if you go to 1787network.com and you go to our YouTube channel, you can hear from the first hour. But one of the things we talked about was you saw in the primaries the lowest percentage of the turnout since 1998, which is a very low percentage of the turnout. 17-something% in the turnout in the primaries. Which, if that bodes for the general election, you're going to see a general election that is in the 40s, between 40 and 49%. Maybe even, like maybe 42, 43. Like it's being utilized, I believe, on purpose to depress the vote, to make more disenfranchised voters, for people to go, oh, I don't care, whichever one of those guys, and just go with it from there. And Rick Scott and Charlie Crist are betting on that, because all they want to do is to be able to turn out their base, because they know that there's a certain percentage that will vote for Crist and a certain percentage that will vote for Charlie Crist, or for Rick Scott and for Charlie Crist. Now, here's the rub, though, and here's the part. What you hear in the media all the time is that those are the only two that can possibly win. There's nobody else that can possibly win. It's either going to be Rick Scott or Charlie Crist. But if 20% of the population votes for Charlie Crist, and 25% of the population, 23% of the population votes for Charlie Crist, and 23% of the population votes for Rick Scott, then you will have had 46% of the people voting.
Yes.
What about the other 54% of the people that aren't going to go out for either one of those people because they're just, it's the rug burn against a road rash.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad either way. And I imagine there's a lot of people that are listening to Tan Talk 1340 that are listening to this show right now that are like, I'm not really going to vote for either one of these guys. However, there's also a good number of people that said, well, I'm not going to vote for either one of these guys, but I will go and vote for Amendment 2. I'll vote yes on 2. Because that is something that is going to drive people to the polls. The only thing that will up the vote is going to be a combination of two things. One is Amendment number 2. Now, Charlie Crist is betting on Amendment number 2 because in his mind, and in John Morgan's mind, his ambulance chaser employer, in his mind, they put this on the ballot. Morgan spent the money to put Amendment 2 on the ballot to help Crist, because it's not a presidential year, so the Democrat vote is automatically depressed in the state of Florida. So they were like, well, we're going to put this on the ballot, and we'll let Charlie Crist run through it, and hopefully we'll be able to convince the public that Crist would be the better guy when it comes to Amendment number 2 instead of Rick Scott, which, I mean, if you compared the two, no, they both suck. I'm not even going to give one of them credit the other one, because Charlie Crist signed some of the most restrictive and some of the most, like, if you're a snitch, that you would get paid because of the legislation that Charlie Crist put together, because there's a $500 reward to any people that can find grow houses around the state of Florida. Charlie Crist signed the law.
Yes,
that's what they got Kathy Jordan on. And now Charlie Crist saying he's turned his ways on this and he's gone the other way with this. But Charlie Crist has flip-flopped on every issue that he's ever had. I mean, every time he's ever taken a position, he's taken the exact opposite of it. So what they're counting on is that Crist is going to be able to gain from those voters. He's not going to be able to. At least, not really. And the reason why is because of Adrian Wiley.
Right.
The reason in the polling that had Adrian at 9% that he was pulling as much from Crist as he was from Scott, or at least that's what they were claiming, or even a percentage point more from Crist than from Scott, was because people don't believe him. Anybody that knows Adrian, because Adrian had a known rate of 8% and a voting rate of 9%, which means 8% of the people knew who he was, 9% of the people were willing to vote for him.
Yes.
That is unheard of.
That's a percentage point more of people who have no idea who he is, but are willing to vote for him simply because the other two guys are so bad.
Bingo. That is a huge, huge bingo right there, Greg. If you were playing bingo, you would win the entire board. That's how bingo that is. The thing is this. Everybody knows that these two guys are just horrible candidates. Here's a test for anybody that doesn't believe this. Go find someone that is a supporter of Rick Scott or a supporter of Charlie Crist. Matter of fact, if you are a supporter of Rick Scott, well, I can't give that number out because it ain't going to work anyway.
Yeah.
Never mind. If you are a supporter of Rick Scott or you are a supporter of Charlie Crist, go find some of these people and find what their enthusiasm level is, or the reason that they're supporting Charlie Crist. If you go to Democrats, and this is the vast majority of the Democrats that I've talked to, the ones that do support Crist, because not all of them do. There is a percentage that were like, I'll vote for Wiley. What's he about? Oh, he seems okay. Like, he's not one of these two. That's already a bonus point. One of the things that you're going to see here is, when you talk to these guys, is they talk about how bad they got to beat Rick Scott.
Yeah.
That's what you hear. We got to get rid of Rick Scott. We got to get rid of Rick Scott. He's so horribly bad. He's so doing this. Now, remember this about Rick Scott, though. These Democrats. Rick Scott has now signed the largest budget in the state of Florida's history. Any Democrat in office wouldn't have got a higher budget. Charlie Crist would not have gotten a higher budget because the Republicans spent more money than they ever have in history. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to do that. Rick Scott signed bills that will take away Second Amendment rights from returning veterans. Rick Scott has removed a sheriff of Liberty County for supporting and upholding the Second Amendment. Rick Scott made the tuition assistance, the in-state tuition, available for people that were not here legally as well as people that were here legally. Whether you agree with that bill or not, that's what he did. There's a lot of Republicans that don't agree with it. There's a lot of Democrats that do agree with that. Rick Scott did that. I don't know why you hate Rick Scott so much.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I don't like the corporatism anybody else any more than the next person does. But Charlie Crist is no different. When it comes to corruption, I got 2 words for you for Charlie Crist. Jim Greer.
Actually, Charlie Crist is probably more corrupt than Rick Scott. Rick Scott has bad judgment and can't be trusted and does not have the interest of the people's rights and liberties in mind when he makes his decisions. But as far as corruption goes, Charlie's got him hands down, I think.
You know, that is a debatable point that I will cede to you today, sir. I
just to save time.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of stuff going on for Rick Scott too when it comes to when it comes to crony capitalism. I would give the edge to Rick Scott over Charlie Crist on that one.
Crony capitalism.
When it comes to corruption, if you include crony capitalism in with the corruption, I think Rick will give Charlie a run for his money.
Right.
When it comes to just government corruption in and of itself, I give that one to Crist on that one.
Absolutely.
Now, what is going on here, though, is that you have the Democrats who are like, well, we're going to have to unify to get rid of Rick Scott. And the only reason they're doing that is they want to keep you in line in the Democrat Party.
Yep.
But Charlie Crist is, and the thing is this, Charlie Crist is not going to be able to do any of the things he's talking about in Tallahassee because the Republicans, there is no scenario possible that the Democrats control the House and the Senate in Tallahassee. There's 70 seats that aren't even up for election.
Yeah.
There's no, look, you could take if every Democrat in Florida won and every Republican lost, the Republicans still control Tallahassee.
Yes.
Period. You can put Charlie Crist in there, who was the last Republican governor.
So he's worked with all these Republicans before.
Yeah.
They did what he wanted before. They're not going to this time.
Yeah. So they're not going to do the stuff that he wants to do. And there's some things that he's like, well, I'll do executive order from the state of Florida, as the governor, I can do some executive orders. It's very limited what you can do. The stuff you actually can do, he'll never do.
Yeah.
And that's veto. And that's line item veto, and that's cut spending via the power that the governor does have, which is the ability to just strike things out of the budget. Mm-hmm. He has the ability to do that. But again, Charlie's not happy with the $77 billion that the Republican legislature has done, and he's going to want to spend more money than that. What? And now Rick Scott has come out and said in the education side that next year he'll spend more money than Charlie Crist ever spent on education per student. And we're already at record numbers there anyway. That's what you have in Charlie Crist. Now, you go to people that support Rick Scott, and they'll go, whoa, we can't have Charlie Crist win re-election or win election and get in the governor's seat. Florida will be done if that happens. Okay, for those people, get your head out of your rears, please. Charlie Crist was the Republican governor for 4 years before Rick Scott. You know what? And minus being a hugger, which ain't a bad thing. If you want to be a hugger, be a hugger. That's all they had him on. Because all the stuff that Charlie Crist did in office was approved of by the Republican legislature.
Yep.
So if you think that somehow Charlie Crist is going to be able to do all these really bad things, I got news for you. You don't understand what happens in Tallahassee. And what worse can he do than Rick Scott?
And what worse can he do than what he's already done?
Yeah, what worse can he do? Exactly, Greg. What worse can he do than he's already done? I don't understand how somehow somebody can say that one of these guys is that so much worse than the other that it requires you to vote for one of them. Look, the real vote in this election, whether you like it or not, whether you support the libertarian platform 100% or 80% or 70% or whatever, the only vote as a Floridian that you should do right now is for Adrian Wiley. Mm-hmm. And I'm biased. I'll go with that. I'm biased because I help his campaign. I'm involved heavily in his campaign. I understand that part. But I haven't heard of anybody that can give me an argument for Charlie Crist or for Rick Scott that doesn't end in but Charlie Crist is horrible and we got to vote for the other guy. Or candidate A is so bad we got to vote for candidate B. Mm-hmm. And if you vote for candidate C, you're crazy because that means either candidate A or candidate B is going to win. I have never heard of anybody that can offer me any kind of substantive argument for either one of these guys. It doesn't exist.
Nope.
I was on a Facebook post. Somebody, Jason, maybe I shouldn't give his name out, but there was a gentleman that is a supporter of Wiley's, who also happens to be a supporter of a lot of gay rights issues. that supports Adrian unequivocally, not messing around, not doing anything else. Loves Adrian's positions and loves what Adrian's going to do, at least on most of it. I'm sure there's a couple things he probably doesn't agree with him on, but he's standing by Adrian, and he put a picture up of him and Adrian together. Right. And this gentleman has other friends that and again, I don't know if all these people were gay or not, but I'm making an assumption that some of them might have been. Again, nothing that there's wrong with that, but that's just the argument that people were having. And they were... Everything I would see is, I know Charlie Crist is not very good, but Rick Scott is so bad. I would see that constantly. Over and over and over again. Well, I know that he's bad, but he's not as bad as the other guy. Folks, please, for the love of Pete here, you can't vote out of fear anymore. You got to stop making that vote. That's how they keep you in line. By voting out of fear. It's so obvious in this election because the differences are so little. They are one-upping each other. That's all they're doing. And they don't have an excited base at all for either one of them. The Democrats are not excited about Charlie Crist. The Republicans are not excited about Rick Scott. And they may try to have a unity rally at a Union Hall over in Orlando for the Democrats, but at the end of the day, the Democrats are not happy with the picks that they have. You may be able to convince a good amount of them to actually show up to the polls and to actually vote for Charlie Crist, but you're really going to have to put weed in front of it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to give them something else. Going for Crist won't be enough. And if you've convinced them enough on weed, on Amendment 2, more than likely they're going to be open to voting for somebody else. And if you're a person that supports Adrian Wiley for governor, or let me just say this, if you're a Floridian that supports liberty in Florida, the first thing that you have to understand is you only have one choice in this election, and it's Adrian. That's it. There ain't nobody else. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. It's not my fault that Charlie Crist and Rick Scott are the Republican and Democrat nominees, respectively. It's not my fault that Rick Scott is a horrible, horrible, horrible governor. They've lied about so many things. You know, he's jobs, jobs, jobs. He lied about that stuff, by the way, folks. Go in and do the research on the numbers. He's lied. He's using the same job numbers that Obama uses federally. And the Republicans call Obama a liar for those numbers. But somehow Rick Scott's telling the truth? You got one option in this one, folks, and it's Adrian Wiley. And here's what you need to do. Just for the record, let's just lay this right on the table right now. First thing you need to do is you need to get involved in Adrian's campaign. That's the first thing.
By donating.
By donating your time or your money. The second thing you need to do is you need to get some supplies. Go to WileyForGovernor.com, get some supplies. We've traveled the entire state to give as many people yard signs as we can, and we've given a lot out. And we'll give out more.
I've got yard signs in the back of my car right now. If there's anybody in Pinellas County that knows me that needs an Adrian Wiley sign, I will bring it to you.
Bring it to you. He's like a delivery man.
Yeah. I'll bring it to you.
Now, he might ask you for donations. I'll make sure you give it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You need to get involved in this race. And the best part about it is this. When we go out and talking to people, the second we say we're not Crist or Scott and there's another option in the race, the reaction most people get is one of joy, one of like a weight being lifted off of their shoulders, and one of saying, you mean there's another option other than these two? That's what we get. That's the answer that you get.
Yep.
Now, while you're in Pinellas, you're double lucky. No, you're triple lucky. You're triple lucky in Pinellas. You have your Congress seat you can vote Libertarian on with Lucas Overby, and that's only a two-way race. Again, that's even better. And David Jolly, again, if you're a Second Amendment supporter, you can't support Jolly. If you support Amendment 2, you can't support Jolly. Lucas is your only choice. There's not another guy on the ballot.
Basically, if you are not an authoritarian psychopath who wants people disarmed and freedoms taken away and all money being collected into the hands of a select few, you can't vote for Jolly.
Exactly. Adrian Wiley for governor, Bill Wolsifer for attorney general, and in some places you even got Casso for the state house. So in some places in Pinellas County, you have 4 libertarians on the ballot. 4 of them. In some places there's only 3.
Mm-hmm.
And in some places in Pinellas County, there is only 2 because Lucas doesn't cover the whole county.
Yeah, they're very small
downtown
areas.
I think downtown St. Pete is one of them. Though.
Yeah. Down in South County is outside of his district, just like the very edge of it.
And North County.
And the very edge of North County.
Where Bill Arrakis is.
Yeah, but the majority of Pinellas County is...
the heart of it.
Yeah. The majority of Pinellas County is going to be David Jolly or Lucas Overby as their selection for Congress.
Yeah.
And if you choose David Jolly, you get what you deserve.
Yeah. I mean, this is a guy that is a neocon establishment guy all day long. And I'm not even saying it as a pejorative. It's just what he is. I mean, he was a lobbyist for the defense industry, for Pete's sake.
We don't have to lie about David Jolly. We don't have to make anything up. We don't have to use pejoratives. Look at his voting record since he's been in Congress at the special election.
He has gone back on things that he said he was going to do when he was running in the special election.
Yes.
He has already broken his promises, and Congress hasn't even been in session that long.
Yeah. He hasn't spent a full year in Congress. Congress hasn't been in session for more than a couple months. And he's already broken just about every promise. And he's already flip-flop on a position. Yeah. Because he took a stance against gay marriage or for traditional marriage, however you want to take that perspective, in the debates for the special election. And now he's saying that he supports gay marriage.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is this, folks. The reason that you want to support Adrian Wiley and you want to do it right now is because you have to have somebody else in this debate. Now, I think Adrian, unless they try to pull some shenanigans and don't let Adrian in the debates, I think Adrian is going to be in the debates, which will be a game changer in and of itself. But you got to make sure that he's in these debates because you can't have it just going up there being the Rick Scott, Charlie Crist show. Because you're not going to get an honest discussion of the issues. It will do a disservice to this state if you do this. You have to make sure that he is included. Now, what we've seen, Adrian's gotten invites. So he's gotten invites to the debates. They haven't done the final poll to make the determination or if they're going to try to, get him out based off of one thing or another. So we don't know for sure. I mean, it's never for sure until it happens.
Right.
Especially with libertarians. Sorry, it's just never for sure. But we got to have this guy in the debates. You need an honest debate of the issues here. Because Chris refuses to debate Nan Rich. Rick Scott's only agreed to 3 debates with Charlie Crist. Mm-hmm. You got to have it, man. You got to get this done. We have to make sure that there is an honest person on stage during these debates because neither one of these people are honest. And that's not me saying it, by the way. That's the majority of the population of Florida. So the people that are listening to this show either think that one of them is dishonest or both of them are dishonest. If you were a political pundit or an analyst or a consultant, you wouldn't really see a path to victory for either one of these guys.
Yeah.
It's historic how bad they are. Mm-hmm. And again, that's not me. That's the polls. And if they include Adrian's name more, Adrian does better.
Yeah. The sad thing is I've talked about this before. We've all talked about this. The two-choice paradigm. That you only have 2 people to select from. Oh, yay, that means I get one more choice than people of Iran. What a democracy. Oh, we're so free. Such choices.
Okay, that was really funny, by the way. That was really, really funny, by the way. That was actually really good. I'm sorry, you almost made me totally lose where I was going with things because of that one. That was good. Here's the other thing. Let me mention this part as well. You're going to see attack ads from Crist that Rick Scott got money from Duke Energy. You're going to see attack ads from Rick Scott that Charlie Crist got money from Duke Energy.
They're both true.
They're both true. Neither one of them are wrong. You're going to get attack ads from Rick Scott saying that Charlie Crist was selling judicial appointments. And you're going to get attack ads from Charlie Crist saying that Rick Scott was selling out to big companies. Guess what? Greg, guess what?
They're both right.
They're both right. The problem with the attack ads is not the attack ad in and of itself. It's the fact that they're all true.
The only truth that you're going to get from either side during this campaign is when they're attacking the other guy. The only time they will not lie is when they're talking about the other person.
And their hope and their prayer is that that will be enough to keep you voting for one of the two. Now, remember, we said this. They're both true. So, and we'll take a break here in a second, but let me end by saying this, at least for this segment. I'm going to end by saying this. If you're offended by the attack ads, if you're offended by just seeing all this stuff negative that's going to go on in this campaign, if that offends you, then you can't vote for either one of them because both of them are doing it. If you are a person that doesn't like corruption in Tallahassee and wants to do something about it, then you can't vote for either one of them because they're both corrupt.
Yep.
If you think that government has gotten way too big and way too controlling of our lives, then there is no way you can vote for either one of them. And if you think that corporations have way too much influence on what goes on in Tallahassee, then you cannot vote for either one of them. Because if you do, then you are voting against your own, not libertarian principles, mind you, you're voting against your own principles out of fear. And it is that fear that has kept you in line until this election. Are they going to continue to keep you in line? We don't know yet. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case. I'm hoping that people will wake up and vote for Adrian and come out and support Adrian in his campaign for governor. I believe he's the best guy running right now. I don't believe it's even close as to who a number 2 is. But you have to understand that if you have a problem with the way politics is currently going, whether it be on the left or on the right, you cannot in good conscience vote for either one of these people. Charlie Crist and Rick Scott do not deserve your vote or your support. And if you do vote for them, then everything that I'm talking about when it comes to corruption, when it comes to negative campaigning, when it comes to just selling you the fear, will only continue because your vote is your support. Fair enough, right?
Fair enough.
All right, when we get back, more information on we're going to probably still talk about the race a little bit, and I probably have a rant or two in the hopper ready to go. But we'll talk about that when we get back. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Are the people hearing our message, and they're realizing that the libertarian philosophy is essentially what most people believe. It's the simple philosophy that government should be limited, held within its constitutional boundaries, and that other than that, should pretty much leave people alone to live their lives as they see fit, so long as they're not harming anyone else.
I'm Adrian Wiley, Libertarian candidate for Governor of Florida, and I approve this message.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. Always like Paul Harvey. Did you ever listen to Paul Harvey, by the way, Greg?
I'm not a huge talk radio guy. I can only listen for small stints.
Well, even on some radio stations, they would have this segment. It was called The Rest of the Story. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have heard Paul Harvey.
You have heard it before.
I have heard, yeah.
I will tell you, without a doubt, one of my most favorite segments was The Rest of the Story by Paul Harvey. Like, it's sad that he's dead, but it was really one of my favorite segments whenever you would listen to a radio show of Paul Harvey. Like, I would listen to that radio station because they would have him on at certain times, no matter what. Especially like when I was in Orlando, they had him on. I think it was 580 WDBO. That's where I think it was. I think when Paul Harvey was on during that time. And it was always nice to, he always had some interesting take on some kind of an issue out there, which was nice, which was really nice. I liked it, though. Let's get back to the politics, though, because that's what the show is about. Now, let's focus this in Pinellas right now as well, and let's talk about Lucas's race, and that's the Lucas Overby against David Jolly race. Now, the problem that we're currently having right now that needs to be overcome, and it does need to be overcome by Lucas as well, because this is what they're really trying to do about this. This is really what's that word for it? David Jolly, what he wanted to do in this election for the re-election, because there was no Democrat in the race, is to keep this race out of the media.
Yes.
Is that if it's not in the media, then they're not talking about Lucas either.
Exactly.
So they're not talking about him, they're not talking about Lucas, which does not help Lucas.
Right.
That hurts him.
Right.
Now, how you get past that and how you get into the media is it's not easy to do, and they can just simply ignore you. You have to make it so they won't ignore you. Now, in this race, like we talked a little bit about it, before, but just to talk about it again, David Jolly has already broken a lot of the promises that he had when he ran, and he's actually angered a lot of people, by the way.
Oh yeah.
And in this is a very interesting race. Is that what's going to happen is the base of the Democrats is going to be the ones that come out. The base of the Republicans is going to be the one that comes out, and a whole lot of people that support Amendment 2 are going to be the ones that come out. The base of the Republicans will probably hold their nose and vote for Jolly. At least some of them will. Some of them won't, but some of them will. But the fear of a Democrat will win goes away, which will increase the amount of people that will vote for Lucas.
Right.
On the Democrat side, I think there's going to be something else that comes into play here. And what comes into play here is that I think that the Democrats are going to get, that Lucas is going to get a whole lot of votes from the Democrats. But here's why, though. The reason is, and whether this is true, there's certain parts of this that are just factually correct. So it's not a dig on Lucas as it's a dig on money, I guess you could say.
All right.
If they vote for Lucas and Lucas wins that election in 2 years, it'll be easier to unseat Lucas than it would be to unseat David Jolly.
Yes.
For money reasons.
Absolutely.
For money reasons alone, it would be very, very difficult to unseat David Jolly. Because you got to remember, Bill Young had that seat for 26 elections. And no matter who they threw against him, they couldn't win. No matter what, they couldn't win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you bring Alex Sink into the race, and she still can't pull it off. No, I mean, Alex Sink was a horrible candidate, but
yeah.
I think that you're going to have a lot of Democrats that are going to, at the end of the day, vote for Lucas because they're not going to vote for Jolly, and they think they're voting defensively or offensively, depending on which way you look at it.
Right.
You could say defensively. They're voting defensively at that point. But then you got the nonpartisans. Any of the nonpartisans that know about him, that don't just fall in line with the Republicans, which, there's a whole lot of those people that are in there. I think they're going to give this guy a shot. I think they're going to give Lucas a shot if they know about him.
Right.
Goes back to the problem that I was talking about before. There's only two ways for people to know about you. You're in the media or you knock on their door.
Mm-hmm.
One of the two. There's the only two ways to do it. So that is the challenge that Lucas has in Pinellas County is, can you get to enough people? Or can you get into the media? Which, look, how can I say this? Let me say it this way. For Adrian's campaign, for the craft brewery tour, there was some very specific reasons that it was done this way. One of the reasons that it was done was to avoid the primary suck.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean by the primary? If you know, but let me explain it to the listener, because I always say in code, or I just talk in my own language. So I apologize for that. But the primary suck is this: libertarians don't normally have primaries, so you don't have to go in August to vote for them to make sure that they're on the ballot because they're on the November ballot. It's like they bypass the playoffs and are already at the end of the season.
Right.
But because of that, they don't get any media attention during that time, and it becomes a lull, like it becomes a downward slope for momentum for a campaign.
Right.
So, and this happened during my campaign, where the primary, the primaries were, I didn't get any media attention. Well, I didn't get any media attention normally either, but I definitely didn't get any media attention during the primaries. What Adrian was able to do with the craft brewery tour, which was, not to pat myself on the back, however, I'm going to do that right now, which was my idea. And he'll admit to that, so that's good. But what it did is it had the momentum level for Adrian's campaign. Instead of going down, it was going up. I would make the argument right now that Adrian's campaign in the month of August was the most successful month ever had by a libertarian running for statewide office in the state of Florida.
Oh, without question.
I might be able to make the argument nationwide. However, I don't know enough to be able to make that argument. But for Florida, definitely the case.
Definitely for Florida, possibly nationwide, but without a doubt, definitely for Florida.
Definitely Florida. What Lucas needs is some kind of theme that the media will latch onto. I don't know exactly what that theme is. I'm not offering what the theme is. I'm just saying that it needs to be done. Now, the other reason that they did focus on Adrian's race, and this is something that libertarians should really heed to. This is a tip for libertarian campaigns. There is ways for you to get earned media no matter who you are as a candidate. But there is a couple things that you have to have when you do it. One, it does have to be some kind of a theme.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you have to show logistically that you're a serious campaign. And what I mean by that is this. In order to pull off 31 events in 30 days in the state of Florida, it requires an amount of logistics that is not something that just anybody can do. It requires work. It requires, forethought. It requires that you set these things up and that you have to promote that as one event.
Right.
Maybe I didn't say it exactly the right way. I know you know what I meant, but
I know what you meant.
You have to promote the entirety of the theme in and of itself.
Right.
All of it. And you got to make sure you put people at the locations. You got to have people showing up. But depending on where you do it at, you may already have a certain amount of people that are already in attendance at these locations. So you don't set them up at places that you completely control. You set them up at places that are public places that other people are already at.
Right. Not preaching to the choir.
Not preaching to the choir. Giving you the ability of bringing your supporters together while actually being at a place where you can talk to new people. The Craft Brewery Tour did this. That's what Lucas and any other libertarian campaign actually needs to be able to do. Mm-hmm. Now, and again, the Craft Brewery Tour was not something that took a week to do. No. We started it in May for August. But we were able to put it all together. We had all the events put together. We were able to, put all this stuff together. Media showed up to about, I think 70% of the locations had media at it. A couple places had, 30% of the places had television media at it, to where Adrian was interviewed. So much so that in the Sarasota paper yesterday, they had a report from Rick Scott. Or they had an article about what's going on with the campaign. They had Rick Scott's going to be here, Adrian Wiley's going to be here. Oh, and by the way, Charlie Crist is going to be in Fort Lauderdale. And the picture was Rick Scott and Adrian, no picture of Charlie Crist.
Yeah, I saw that article. I loved the way it was done. Charlie Crist seemed like the afterthought, not the libertarian.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's crazy to be able to do that. But you got to remember, just making events themselves is not enough. It's the setup of them. It's where they're located at, and it's combining them all into one big thing. Now, Lucas has got time. He could do something like in the October time frame, and maybe doing something about it now. I personally, I just don't know. I've been so involved with the Craft Brewery Tour that has monopolized my time, and I have not been able to dedicate time to anything else other than, driving Adrian around so he can drink beer. Which does sound kind of funny. And I can't drink at these things either. So yeah, go to 31 craft brewery places and not drink any beer, and let me know how your attitude is by the end of the month, by the way.
That's the real challenge.
Yeah. The real challenge was not what Adrian had to do. I was actually the one that had the real challenge here. No. Always bringing it back to yourself, Alex. Always bringing it back to yourself. Dang right. I had to drive him around for the whole month. So yeah, I'm going to bring it back. But at any rate, though, that's what libertarian campaigns need to do. In order to get in the media, in order to challenge these guys, we're never going to get the money. We're never going to get the money. But what we can do is, let me just say it like this too. This has probably been the best fundraising month for a libertarian campaign in Florida ever.
Yeah.
He's raised a serious amount of money in this month. It's been, I probably know things that I probably can't say right on the air. It's a good amount of money. It's not Rick Scott money. I mean, I'm not saying that. Right. But it's enough that you can buy a lot of supplies, give a lot of supplies out, and be able to logistically pay for a tour around the entire state, because that's what we did.
Right.
It's Pensacola to the Keys and, 29 points in between. But that's the key for libertarian campaigns, by the way. I think we have figured out. Look, this is always, when I first ran for office, man, I had no idea what I was doing. None. Even by the end of it, we only had a little bit of an idea. We worked on some other campaigns. Other than we got some more ideas. In this campaign for this election for Adrian, I think we've actually hit a stride that has been a good stride.
Right.
Where we actually started to figure it out.
And it's actually taking a page out of the politics of the two major parties, but doing it in a better way, because they do those tours as well. They do those same kind of tours. They go around, and whether it's going around on a veterans tour, a school tour, whatever it is, they do these tours hitting these stops. And like you said, they promote it as the tour itself. The tour is the event, not the individual locations. And then at those individual locations, it's fundraisers and meet and greets and all that. And that's essentially what you're doing with the Brew Tour. The same kind of game they're playing, but playing it our own way, with our own issues and tapping into the people that we need to tap into.
Yeah. And we got to remember how the media speaks its own language. And if you're not talking to the media in the language in which they speak, then they don't hear you. They like tours. Mm-hmm. They like things that they can promote. They like things like that. So you have to you have to put it together that way. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think we've learned in this election, which was something we didn't know. Look, as successful as this thing's been, I wish we started these things a year ago.
Right.
We could have done we could have done so much better if we would have on a quarterly basis done a marketing strategy like this, like a tour around the state highlighting some issue going around the state. You could have done like a breakfast with Adrian, where where he was doing breakfasts around the state. They don't have to be long events either. An hour, that's all it's needed. It's not long things, and it's not like big speeches either. Right. That's the other thing that we didn't do. No big speeches. I mean, he'd give a speech at most of the locations, but it wasn't a big speech. It was just hey, it's amazing what's going on, and some real, like, he's not getting into policy stuff there. He's answering policy questions from people as they're asking, but it's individual. Mm-hmm. Some places turn into a Q&A. Very, very few of those places turn into a Q&A. But that's what libertarian campaigns need to do.
And I think that's part of its success, is how casual it was and how unassuming. I mean, Adrian's kind of an unassuming guy anyway. He's very personable, very easy to talk to, very, very easy to approach and get into a conversation with. And I think that's part of the reason it was so successful, is the casual nature of it. It's not, I'm coming here to give a speech or whatever. I'm coming here. I'm going to be here. And we're just going to kind of play it by ear the way this event goes, it kind of playing to the audience.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, sometimes it turns into a Q&A. Sometimes he's got a speech. Sometimes he's just standing there drinking beer, talking to individuals.
Yeah. And the amount of people that showed up ranged from 150 to like 20. And every point in between. I mean, you had as low as 20, as many as 150 in some locations. Now, the 150 ones, I tell you, were mass chaos. Mm-hmm. Working these events, oh boy, that's not fun. A 21? Every once in a while when we'd go to one of these events and there'd only be like 20, 25 people there, I'd be like, oh, thank God. Thank God there's only 25. Oh, there's not nearly as much to do. Because
I'm so tired. Thank God nobody showed up.
Please don't show up. No, please show up. We want you to show up. Because it is fun. It's mass chaos for an hour on our end, but the people that are going there are having a good time. But I will tell you, if there's one thing that I have learned, is that these things will raise money, will get support, and will get media attention. That the things that you need to do as a campaign and as a candidate can be done. And I think that you can actually move this to any campaign. Look, Adrian, it was a little bit easier. And I know it sounds weird to say a statewide campaign was easier, but it was easier because you had so many places to go to and you're dealing with a statewide issue. Mm-hmm. But if you're doing it, you can always go to generic ones too, though, and I think the generic ones would actually work.
And that's what the other parties do.
Yeah, a breakfast with the candidate, breakfast around the state, sit down and talk to the candidate for whatever, or have a dinner with the candidate. You can still do a tour where, hey, come out and have a beer with a candidate. That's a generalized one where you could do that as well, and people like that. People really like that. I think because again, you got to remember this country was founded in a bar. Mm-hmm. Drinking beer and talking to politics is something that has a tradition as long as this country's been around.
Yep.
So I think you can do it for any of it. But if I'm giving one piece of advice, which I guess this is what the second half of the show was, is to give the advice. Mm-hmm. And this even goes for like MPA candidates or other third-party candidates. It doesn't have to be just for libertarians. But you need to do that And you have to really fully embrace it, too. And again, you got to look at it as a whole month. It's one event that has a whole lot of stops.
Right.
And it has to be promoted that way, and it has to be public places, and you have to be able to have the combination of your supporters and the general public, and you got to call everybody before the stops. It is labor intensive, but it can work if you do it the right way. And for grassroots campaigns, you're not going to get the major money, guys. I'm sorry. You're just not going to get that. You have to put in work like this in order to get it done. And I hope that, I hope that any of the campaigns that are listening right now, if there are some of the campaigns that are listening, they heed my advice. It is not too late to do something in October, because you got the month of September that you can logistically game plan it, put it together, have it out there, and the candidate's got to be willing to make that trip around the entire state.
Or if you're a candidate in a smaller district for a different office, it's a lot easier because you're not traveling around the state.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. If you're anything other than Congress or anything other than a statewide seat, all you got to worry about is a county, maybe two.
Yeah.
You know, Lucas's race, like I said, all he's got to do is stay in Pinellas County. 30 breakfasts in 30 days. Again, you got to base it, because all these guys that are running a grassroots campaign also have jobs. So he probably have to do a dinner.
Yeah.
30 dinners in 30 days, where you go out, you talk to the voters, you pick a whole bunch of different places. There's a lot of friendly locations.
Oh, yeah.
You just have to put them all together into one thing. But you got to be everywhere, though. And if you be everywhere and you promote that to the media that way, they'll help you in bringing people in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But and the other thing is to make it a very casual experience.
The media is just like anybody else. They're going to help you more if you do more of their job for them. You give them a nice wrapped up little package that you hand over to them that they have to do very little on to kind of get out into their media. It's going to be a lot easier, and you're going to get a lot more reception from them, and then get that media exposure. Because just like any industry, you do their work for them, they're going to be happy and be more helpful towards you.
Yeah, and the one thing I've started to notice with the media is they're not giving any love to Charlie Crist and Rick Scott. They're giving a little bit of love to Adrian. I think the media is starting to reflect more of the population than they have in the past. I think they realize that in order for people to start reading them, that they have to start reporting other things.
And I think the Florida media, here's the thing, the members of the media in Florida are also still Florida residents. They've lived under this government. They've lived under the government of Rick Scott. They've lived under the government of Charlie Crist, and they're not impressed. They're just as disenfranchised as we are at this point. Everybody is disappointed with Rick Scott and Charlie Crist. And I think that's a big part of why Florida media is giving Adrian more attention, not only because he has demanded it and he has done things that lend to his credibility, but because these people involved in the media, they're kind of looking for another option as well.
Well, yeah, they're tired of being treated like the way they've been treated by Republicans and Democrats in this election. Yeah. I mean, Rick Scott refuses to answer any question.
Yeah.
Any question. He just refuses. Charlie Crist, all he does is blame Rick Scott.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're not happy with that either. They won't let him on the bus at certain times and all this other stuff. I mean, it's, these guys are really fumbling it as much as they possibly can. The only thing that makes one of them look better than the other is the other one seems to find a new lower level to stoop themselves to.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to do. Like, I don't know how you can keep doing that, but somehow they find a way. I mean, you got to give credit where it's due.
They're like geologists searching for new layers of the Earth's crust.
I'm going to go down 100 foot lower than this and really put my foot in the mouth. It happens, though. So, guys, at the end of the day, we talked about in the first part, do not vote for Rick Scott or Charlie Crist. Do not vote for David Jolly. Do not vote for Pam Bondi or George Sheldon. Wiley, Wolsifer, Lucas Overby. You're going to hear the same thing from me now till Election Day, but you know what? I'm going to try to convince you to do it. And if you're listening to this show and you keep listening from now to Election Day, I promise you, by the end of it, you'll be on the same page as I am. You're listening to Liberty Underground. We'll be back next week, guys. Have a good week.